This episode is brought to you by Subaru. Go further in a long-range Subaru hybrid with up to 597 miles per tank in the Crosstrek hybrid and up to 581 miles per tank in the Forester hybrid. Subaru. Love goes the extra mile. Visit Subaru.com/hybrid to learn more. Range based on EPA estimated combined fuel economy and a full tank of fuel. Actual mileage and range may vary.
We all have that dream trip we've been wishing we could go on. But too often, life, or usually price, gets in the way. That's why Priceline is here to help you turn your dream trip into reality. With up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights, you can book everything you need for your next adventure. Don't just dream about that next trip. Book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com and book your next trip today.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Live from New York. It's the show that doesn't take vacation until next week. Next week we'll take some vacation. I'm Danny Parkins. That's Super Bowl champion Willie Colon. Hoops in the news. So we brought in an NBA champion and a 3-time All-Star Antoine Walker, who we'll get to in just a little bit. You ready for a 3-hour sprint, Willie?
Me and you, baby. Let's do it.
Let's absolutely do it. We got a jam-packed show for you today, including news out of Miami. The Cheetah might be in line for a reunion. Back with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs after Tyreek Hill was cut in Miami. More football, of course, still awaiting. I'm expecting this to take months. It's like Groundhog's Day. You never know what's going to happen. When will Aaron Rodgers make his long-anticipated return to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 42 years old? And finally, one of the top voices in the NFL is projecting Max Crosby, Caleb Williams. Should they even play the season? Or just give the Lombardi Trophy to my Chicago Bears? That is the topic that we will be discussing. So we've got a very, very busy show. But we begin in the world of the NBA. They've been trying to figure out a format that works. And that bottom line score, 47-21, feels like they were not successful. But actually, if you watch the game, it was pretty competitive. Adam Silver has tried a lot of things, but they landed on Team USA versus the world, and a lot of players weighed in on the format for the game. Take a listen.
I ain't gonna lie, Wemby set the tone. Like, he came out playing hard, so it's hard not to match that. So that's what happened.
It's a game we love, you know. It's a game I personally cherish. So being competitive is the least I can do.
It's for you guys to enjoy and, you know, for us to come out and compete and have fun too. So, you know, if the format is making us play well, then we could keep going.
I like this format. I think it makes us compete because it's only 12 minutes, and the 3 different teams, you separate the guys, and I think it was really good.
So, Antoine, you were a 3-time All-Star. You played in the '98 All-Star game famously at the end of Michael Jordan's career. Did this format work? Did you like it?
Yeah, you gotta like it because of the competitiveness. I mean, even though I'm a traditionalist, I'm old school, but you have to like it because these guys actually competed a little bit. They played hard. When you look at it, the games were competitive. I think besides the last game, but I think you had to do something to get these guys to compete. And I think mixing them up, the Europeans we know are dominating the NBA. You can arguably say you got 4 of the top 5 guys are European guys. So you got it. I think the league did a good job of kind of separating, making the Americans want to play and make sure that they have an opportunity to beat the overseas guys. So it brought a little excitement to it. It was good to see the games kind of played a little more competitive.
So I've always said that the All-Star game is a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. I love it. Like, one of my favorite memories of childhood was going to the All-Star game in 1997. I went with my dad in Cleveland for the NBA at 50 when they celebrated the 50 greatest players ever. And I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Everybody is there. And it was a celebration of it. And so I'm in. I watch it every year and I love it. But the last few years it has gotten embarrassing. And I do not think the format was the reason why this worked yesterday. The format was fine, and it was, you know, leading into the Olympics and the NBC partnership, and so the Team USA versus the world thing. Like, I do think that it made some sense given it being an Olympic year. But to me, Victor Wembanyama, who's trying to stake his claim as the next face of the NBA, when he did his media availability on Saturday, and he did it even earlier in the week, but he kind of called everybody out. And we could see this headline. Wembanyama vows to bring competitiveness to All-Star game. And then you heard Anthony Edwards on the court after. To me, You could go back to East-West. You could do Team USA versus the world. You could do old guys against young guys. Whatever you want to do, as long as they care. Like, as long as there is just a modicum of professionalism and effort. I'm not asking for there to be flagrant fouls. I'm not asking for it to be the equivalent of Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but just a little bit of give a damn, and you can put on a show and have some pride. So to me, Willie, it was not the format. It was effort. And so if you love the format, great, we can talk about it. But to me, clearly, the tone was set by Victor Wembanyama. If you loaf, I'm 7-7. I'm gonna pin this shot against the rim and embarrass you. To me, this was a question of effort, not format.
Yeah, but the format provoked change, right? Because you got to think about it. Game 1 was the young guys versus the world, right? So it allowed the older guys to sit back and say, all right, let's see if Wemby's actually going to show up and be the bully he said he was going to be. Let's see how Ant-Man was going to respond. We saw both of that. And I think because of Game 1 and because of how Anthony Edwards responded and how Wemby started the game, we saw a competitive outfit that we just haven't seen these past couple years. I'm going to be honest with you, DP. I had no plans on watching this. I'm going to be honest. I didn't, because of what we've seen in the past. I was like, I'm not going to waste my Sunday listening to a bunch of billionaires complain about, oh, we have to play in an All-Star game, right? I was very much going to say, hey, man, I'm going to do my daddy duty list and hopefully eat my chicken by 6 o'clock so I can be ready to go for the show today. What we saw was a competitive competition against guys who actually put forth an effort that we were used to seeing. We're talking about rebounding, closing out on shots, pick and rolls, LeBron actually running back in transition, guys actually showing up and fighting. So for me, I loved it, and I think it was because of the format. Now listen, the Stripes got, they played 3 straight games. It was a wrap at the end of the game. But I think if you was to put a cap on the overall night, I thought it was it was a win for the NBA, Twan.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think we also got to look at this. When I came into the league, the game was played really hard. The Michael Jordans, the Isaiah Thomases, those guys play hard. Larry Bird. So when I was coming in, those guys were transitioning out. Then you have we came in the league, and our game was played, I think, pretty competitive. I was lucky enough to play in 3 All-Star games. I never heard guys talking about not playing hard. But also too, I'm gonna put a little light on it. If the prize money is totally different. You know, if you won, like I think when I played, you won $50,000 was for first place if you won, and then the second place thing got $25,000. So guys play hard. Then I know the prize money has gotten much higher now for the guys. That was an incentive to play really hard for the All-Star game. So I think it's different ways you can make it exciting. But I grew up being a fan of the game and couldn't wait for an opportunity to play in the All-Star game and showcase against the world. I think now it's totally different because I even like it if the uniforms to me are important. Getting exclusive uniforms, not even, that stuff is important. Everything about the All-Star weekend was special, and we just have to get back to that, performing in front of. I used to love to see how many celebrities were going to be in the front row. You want to, see against, play against in front of those guys. So everything about the All-Star weekend is about that. It's about showcasing the league and putting the best product on the floor. But guys got to compete. That's what I like yesterday. They competed. I don't know if the format is going to stick because we got to think about it. Are the Europeans going to consistently be good for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years? They probably will.
Yes.
Yeah. But, as I said, they probably will. So if that's the case, this format works really, really well.
Yeah, I think that we might get to a point where it can be 12-12, like Team USA against the world. That would work. Twan, it's funny that you bring that up about wanting to perform in front of people. Anthony Edwards said it, and I know you guys might think this is crazy, but I actually believe it. Anthony Edwards said his favorite person in the world is Barack Obama, and he wanted to put on a show in front of him. If you remember on a podcast with Tyrese Halliburton a year ago, President Obama was like, "You guys got to give more effort in the All-Star game." I actually believe that if Barack Obama was courtside, it should be Rihanna, Barack Obama, Sydney Sweeney, put Leo DiCaprio, put people that Dr. J, put people that you want to impress courtside and be no, you have to put on a show. Twan, if that was courtside, if it was Rihanna, Barack Obama, and Dr. J, I'd imagine how could you loaf through a game like that with those people in attendance? I know it sounds ridiculous, but I actually think that it made a little bit of a difference last night.
No, actually, you make a whole lot of sense. I'll take it into the regular season. I love to play in New York because you're going to play in front of Spike Lee and the stars in New York. In L.A., Jack Nicklaus and those guys on the front row. I mean, I think that's what we guys get up for, to play in front of some people that we see on TV that we admire. That's something special for NBA players to do, to be able to perform in front of that. That's what we've grown up watching. So to get that back and get guys that believe in that is great, and that's going to be great to see. I do like the NBA for at least taking a chance and really trying to figure this out, because I don't know if you guys would have thought about it. I never would have thought about putting the Europeans up against the Americans. I just wouldn't have thought of that. So I think that was very creative and innovative to put that into play. And like you guys say, if it can hold and stick, which I think it will, I mean, we might have something here for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I think, they got the idea partially from what hockey did with the Four Nations, which worked out. And again, I remember Kobe Bryant taking it seriously, and Dwayne Wade Dwayne Wade broke Kobe's nose in an All-Star game, because you were trying to keep up with the level of competition of the guys before you. So Victor Wembanyama coming out there and be like, I'm playing hard.
Yeah, I mean,
because Jokic did not play hard. Everybody didn't play hard. But if Victor Wembanyama is going to be in the league for 15 years playing hard, that's going to make a difference.
And also think about what else we saw. We saw Kawhi Leonard show up. We saw vintage Kawhi Leonard. We saw Kawhi, how he played with the Spurs and how he played with Toronto. He showed up and put a show on in his building. He's been missing, even though he's been having a relatively good year. Nevertheless, man, we saw the stars rise up to the occasion. And I think also, man, if you are the world team who didn't have Giannis, right, who didn't have SGA, you now have to go into next year we'll be back. Right?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
This is what y'all did? Oh, y'all think y'all arrived? Oh, we be back. And so if you're the world, man, this has extra momentum going into next season. I think it was a win overall for the night.
All right, so let's get to what the story of the weekend was in terms of a macro issue facing the NBA, and it was front and center at Adam Silver's press conference. It was the first question that he was asked. He was asked about tanking and what he's willing to do or not do in order to fix the issue, and there were multiple questions on the subject. So here's the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, on tanking.
I think what we're seeing is modern analytics where it's so clear that the incentives are misaligned. I think when you to further answer your question, are we seeing behavior that is worse this year than we've seen in recent memory? Yes, is my view, and which was what led to those fines, and not just those fines, but to my statement that we're going to be looking more closely at the totality of all the circumstances this season in terms of teams' behavior.
All right, Antoine, I have a lot of feelings on this, but I will begin with you as the NBA champion and three-time All-Star. How do you fix tanking in the NBA?
It's going to be tough to do because I was in a situation when I was the Celtics after my first year. We won 15 games. So we had an opportunity going into the second year where we could possibly have 2 lottery picks. And I just felt like my rookie year, we kind of shut it down the second half of the season. And as a rookie, I'm just playing. I'm playing 40 minutes a night. I'm trying to acclimate myself to the league. But I felt like, necessarily we wasn't putting our best foot forward. But it's tough to do because you're trying to build it's hard to build through free agency because every team doesn't have money. And usually you have to build through the draft. So I do see why teams say, hey, look, let's build through the draft. We can't make any progress this year. We can't make the playoffs. So now let's play our young guys. I have no problem with that. And then sometimes you may sit your veterans late in the year, last 20, 25 games, you lessen their minutes. But to the integrity of the game and playing the game, we shouldn't do that. We should compete night in and night out. But unfortunately, I think it plays a part. I think teams necessarily wouldn't necessarily want to win. A game that's not meaningless. You know what I mean? They don't want to win that game. It's not going to improve them. If they can get a better pick in the draft, they're going to do that. So, but I was a part of a team that we was in that situation where we had 2 lottery picks coming up. We won 15 games. I was on a team that was 15-67. I'm not saying we could have won 35 games, but we probably could have did a little better than 15-67.
So there's 2 conversations with points that need to be acknowledged. The first one I think is what you were speaking to. Tanking is smart. Under the current rules that largely allow it, a team like Utah, who if they don't finish in the bottom 8, or at the top 8 of the draft, they lose their pick to Oklahoma City. Right. They are highly incentivized in a great draft class to get a top pick. So I understand why Utah management wants to lose. It doesn't mean, tanking is smart if it's allowed. It just shouldn't be allowed. Like, the team, understandably, if it is only going to be punished by money, these teams are worth $4, $5, $6, $8 billion. You fine them $500,000, it means nothing to them.
Yeah, it's noise at that point.
Right. You have to really be willing to be punitive and not say, Utah, you cannot sit players in the fourth quarter of games before Valentine's Day. Like, the games have to mean something. And I watched that whole Adam Silver press conference, and I thought that was the story of the weekend. He seemed angry, he seemed embarrassed, and he seemed open to everything. Like, he said that everything was on the table, including straight up taking away draft picks from teams.
I think that's where we're at, though, DP.
I do too, but he hasn't. Like, the Mavericks a couple of years ago, they blatantly tanked at the end of the year. They got fined, a mid-high five-figure amount, whatever it was. Maybe it was six-figure amount. I don't remember exactly, but they got fined a couple $100,000, which is six figures. But they didn't lose their draft pick. So who cares? Like it meant nothing. I think putting in the pick protection idea is a good one. Saying you cannot pick in the top 4 of consecutive drafts is a good idea. But if these little rule changes don't eliminate tanking, and you have to straight up take draft picks away from teams, or drastically one day talk about getting rid of the draft entirely and do a rookie free agent system, you cannot allow your games to mean nothing, because that will turn off your product.
But also, I think Twan can agree to this. Players don't tank. It's the front office and coaches that do the tanking.
No doubt.
As players, we just show up and do our job. When you start seeing guys who are healthy sitting when there's a competitive game going on, that's a problem. When you start looking at rosters getting weakened solely because there's a race to the bottom, that's the problem. What's another problem is right now, a lot of these guys, it's out of their hands, right? There's nothing.
I don't blame the players at all. I don't blame the players at all.
Right, but we're the one, weird because I'm sitting here with Twan, so I'm acting like I played in the NBA, so my bad, Twan. But I'm sitting here saying, these are the guys who get ridiculed, right? Because if I'm getting pulled in the third, even though you paid your ticket to see me finish in the fourth because I'm a closer, that's not a me problem, right? That's a front office and league problem. So these guys are facing the wrath. I do agree with you, DP. I think right now, if you start throwing out money to a bunch of billionaires and you're fining them $500K, $100K, that's a slap on the wrist. If you start threatening draft picks, because the ultimate aim in tanking is the ability to get the best player. And think about it, tanking is the only strategy in sports where if you lose, you get the best player. That's a problem in itself. So nevertheless, the system needs to be fixed. And I agree with you. I think right now, it's threatening the integrity of the game to the point where it's hard to watch because you don't know what you're getting on an in and out basis.
And I think, Adam, go ahead, Twan, real quick.
I would just add this too, and let's be honest. When you get a draft like we're going to probably have this year, you guys, we got a ton of great young talent in the draft this year. When you're possibly talking about 10 to 15 guys that can probably change a franchise, that's when we start to hear about this tanking stuff. When it's a good college product coming into the league, that's when you hear this. So the league has to be aware of this. We got to, start paying attention to this. And then you'll know, because guys, it's not the players, because players have incentives in their contract. You know that. They got games played, scoring type. They got all type of different bonuses in their contract. So players want to play, especially if healthy, they want to play the 82 games because they got too many things riding on it, so they don't want to do it. So it's usually just coming from up top, and they're banking on these draft classes. I think we're hearing about it this year. And we'll talk more about it because this draft class is so deep. Everybody wants to be in this draft. Last year was a little different. Everything was about Cooper Flag last year. It was just about the one pick. This year, everybody wants to be in the draft because you're talking about potentially 8 to 15 guys that can change a franchise.
Twan, good stuff. And yeah, to be clear, I do not put this on players, coaches, or general managers. It's the commissioner's job to fix this. We'll talk to Antoine Walker a little bit later on in the show. But we've got major news, Willie, coming out of the NFL. One of the most explosive players of this generation, Tyreek Hill, is available in an expected salary dump. The Miami Dolphins have released Tyreek Hill. In addition to, they got rid of Bradley Chubb today, so Miami into full rebuild mode. But Tyreek Hill, if healthy, coming off massive knee injury, he's been flirting with the Chiefs. Now, this is not from today, but this is, saying he needed to go home. People thought, is he referencing Atlanta? Is he referencing Kansas City? He also put something out when Eric Bieniemy returns back. Tyreek Hill has openly talked about his fondness for his time in Kansas City, so everyone is going to connect those dots. Do you expect a reunion for Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs?
I don't, man, and we got to be careful. Nostalgia will get you in trouble. You're talking about a 32-year-old quarterback coming off a major knee injury, and we're looking at a team right now, valid they're deficient at the receiver position because because Marquise Brown is going to be a free agent along with Juju Smith. Nevertheless, man, you're also talking about if you're the Chiefs, man, you have some serious cap issues, right? Like, they're in the business of shopping for a low-value receiver instead of an impact guy like Tyreek Hill. And when you don't know if you're even going to get the same guy back, I think if you're the Chiefs right now, you have to focus all your eggs on get all your attention on getting Travis Kelce back in the building because he was the ultimate security blanket for Patrick Mahomes. And you got to figure out, you got this damn good Sam linebacker and Leo Chanel, who I think should remain a Chief, and you got to keep him in the building. So I think they have some other needs. I understand of looking back into the, in the record book, you say, hey, man, when we was them, we had this guy on the roster, but I don't think he's him anymore solely because of that knee injury.
The knee injury is massive, right? And neither one of us are doctors because it's not just an ACL tear. It's multiple ligaments and the dislocation, and he's going to be, 32 years old. So I guess what I would say is, he can't be the move to fix the offense, but he can be a move to fix the offense. Like, if you are good, like, because they're going to restructure deals, right? They can restructure Mahomes' deal. They can restructure Trey Smith's deal, do something with Chris Jones. They're going to be able to free up the cap space. And I don't know how much Tyreek Hill is going to command on the open market. Like, he might be on a one-year prove-it deal coming off of that injury. But if we look at what Tyreek Hill did in terms of production, like, on a per-game basis, and again, this is pre-injury, I understand that.
Yeah.
But since leaving the Chiefs, per game, receiving yards per game, catches per game, yards per catch, this is still a top 10 receiver in football. So if I was saying, okay, I need to bring the light show back to Kansas City, well, it hasn't been there since he left.
Correct.
So is he the only thing to bring back? No, but if you use the 9th pick in the draft on offense, and you add another piece at right tackle if you replace Jawan Taylor, and you add Tyreek Hill, like if it's like a three-pronged approach and Tyreek Hill is one of the three prongs, I think that's totally reasonable. But just saying, no, we're going to bring back the light show because of Tyreek Hill, it's not 2019 anymore.
Well, I also got to tell you the reason why he was relevant, he had the impact he had during his time as a Chief because they had a run game, right? And when you have a run game, that forces a load of box, and then you can blow the top off of defense. Right now, they don't have a run game, right?
Yeah.
So now you're talking about an aging tight end in Travis Kelce. You have a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes who's coming off an ACL injury. Now you got another guy coming off an ACL injury. Like, let's keep it a buck. It ain't it anymore, right? Like, sometimes you can look at the pictures and it's like, yeah, I used to have once a hot girlfriend. Then you look at her Facebook, she gained 30 pounds, right? Like, so at some point you gotta realize, at the best move for the Chiefs right now is when you were in championships and you were dominating playoff games is when you had a defense. They got to get back to reinvesting in that defense because going into next season, you can lose Trent McDuffie. And that's going to be a major blow to that defense, especially on the back end, because that's one of the strengths of their team. So offensively, they're going to have to figure it out. But defensively, you're really going to have to revitalize what that defense was and why you was making those playoff runs was because of that defense.
They certainly have plenty of issues. I'm a little surprised because I'm not at all saying that Tyreek Hill is going to come out here and command like a $30 million per year, multi-year set. Like I don't think he's going to command that type of money at his age coming off of it. But like I would think basically any team would be willing to roll the dice on Tyreek Hill.
Not with that knee. Because his game is speed. His game is stop and go. His game is blowing the top off defense, putting him on the island where cornerbacks are literally afraid of his speed. You're talking about a guy coming off an injury right now. By the way, he's been playing in Miami, right? Now he has to go back to Kansas City where it does get cold again.
Sure.
So all those things play a factor, and you're talking about, establish yourself in an offense that you haven't been a part of in quite some time. I think there's a lot of ifs for a team that's looking to kind of just get back on par. And I don't know if he's the answer because of his injuries.
Do you have a team that you would like? Because where I would sit is, man, it's not much risk and it's all reward. Because if he's bad and it's a one-year deal and we're not giving him a ton of money or it's an incentive-based.
Well, if he's bad, who you have then? Who else do you have?
Well, I guess that's kind of what my point was. It's like if you use the 9th pick, so, there's people talking about them taking Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, and trying to make him like a Jahmyr Gibbs type. Okay, well now that is a major thing that you've done. If you had an offensive lineman and the 9th pick is a weapon and Tyreek Hill, it's like, okay, if Tyreek Hill doesn't work out, it's fine. Like, Marquise Hollywood Brown hasn't always worked out for them. Like, I'm not expecting Tyreek Hill to come back and be Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm expecting him to be a guy who can produce but does not necessarily need to be wide receiver
but you're
one.
expecting him to have an impact. If there was a team for him to land on, if I'm being totally honest, if the Colts get rid of Michael Pittman Jr., I would like to see him as a Colt, because even if you don't get the same cheater, you still have Tyler Warren, Jonathan Taylor in the offensive line, and whatever you do at quarterback, you'll figure out in the offseason. But there's enough if he's not that guy. So I would like to see him land on the Colts, if not the Chiefs, on another team.
Well, it'll be a massive story going out throughout the offseason where Tyreek Hill, who assuredly will be a Hall of Famer, ends up playing next season. But we're still waiting news on when Aaron Rodgers will announce whether he's playing football or coming back to Pittsburgh. Willie Colon and an old friend.
You love talking about this.
I do.
You love it.
Really do.
You know what?
I really do. Check out the podcast. 1 billion views was so 2 weeks ago.
Big B.
You know what I mean? Subscribe to the YouTube page. Check out the podcast. The guys are on vacation, but they're still podcasting what we're doing, so it's always a good place to catch up on the latest in the First Things First universe. But now, yes, I do love talking about this with Willie Colon and my good friend.
You're just not positive when you talk about it.
All right, well, we'll get into it. Andrew Filipponi from 93.7, The Fan in Pittsburgh, will join us here in a second. When will Aaron Rodgers make his announcement? Jeremy Fowler says both sides are still open to a return, and we'll see when it's coming down. But, Willie, are you optimistic about a Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers return?
I am optimistic, and I'm optimistic because I feel like once McCarthy got the job, I think priority one was having open dialogue with Aaron Rodgers and feeling where he was at in his transition on either coming back or hanging it up. Nevertheless, man, I think for a lot of people are saying, man, we've seen the ceiling. We've seen the act. I think we're done with the Aaron Rodgers show. And I have to remind the people, and this is not what the Steelers do. They're always going to be a present franchise. They're always going to be in the billing of winning games. I understand this opens the window now that you have a new head coach of kind of saying, hey, roll out the young guy or go into the draft and get a young guy and let's see what happens and build for the future. But the Steelers feel like they can still compete. I've said it time after time. The best team doesn't win the Super Bowl, the most opportunistic. And I think Aaron Rodgers, as a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, gives the Steelers an opportunity to win football games and hopefully land in the playoffs and make a run. I know it hasn't happened, right? But nevertheless, it's good to be hopeful and wishful than saying, hey, starting the season realizing, man, we don't have a shot. Pony.
I give them no shot with him. I'm not wishful or hopeful whatsoever. I think the ceiling with Aaron Rodgers back on the Steelers is being mediocre again, because that's what he was last year. His record, his stats in games versus great teams. You talk about, get in and then hope you have a shot or a prayer. He was horrible against the playoff teams they played. Look at these numbers here. 1-5 record, 14 points per game, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, plus 2 fumbles on top of that. If the Steelers bring back Aaron Rodgers, to me, it'll be the worst decision they've made as a franchise since they drafted Kenny Pickett. You are drawing dead as a team if you bring him back. We know what Aaron Rodgers is at 42 years old. He is no longer a quarterback that's capable of getting the Steelers past just an invite to the playoffs. And being the 6th or 7th best team in the AFC, that's not being relevant. That doesn't make you a Super Bowl contender. That just means you're cannon fodder for whoever you play wild card weekend.
Yeah, and I would agree from this standpoint that Aaron Rodgers didn't play his best football or MVP-like. But I also have to sit here and remind you that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, they grew up this season. If you talk to a lot of guys in that locker room, he forced those guys to grow up. Now, the production always wasn't there, and I think largely because of the scheme. Arthur Smith lives in a 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. We didn't get the best out of that. DK Metcalf, we saw a shell of him, especially late in the season. So they're going to have to figure out in the wide receiver 2 position who's going to be the guy outside DK that can have another impact. They're going to have to figure out that. I think if they revamp this roster with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to get a shot. You're going to be surprised that this offense can hum. Numbers don't scare me. I'm never infatuated with what a guy can do or cannot do. I like to see the tape, and I like to see a guy produce. What I see is an old guy who can still spin it, a guy who's still competitive, a guy who still commands a locker room, and an old man who's fiery and ready to go on Sundays. It's about having an opportunity to win games. Aaron Rodgers gives us that. And we also got to understand this defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we highly invested in, didn't show up in a major way for us at times. So it just wasn't on Aaron Rodgers winning and losing games. I thought he was a stabilizer, and we just need more around him to build, Andrew.
Well, they scored 6 points in a playoff game. Okay, so the defense was the highest paid unit in the NFL defensively at $170 million. Unless they're going to be the 2000 Ravens or 85 Bears, 6 points ain't going to cut it. If you actually look at Aaron Rodgers' production last year in the playoffs and regular season combined, his passer rating in QBR was lower than Russell Wilson with the Steelers in 2024. I'm here. Nobody was clamoring for Russell Wilson to come back. Look, even if Aaron Rodgers gives you similar numbers or improves them a little bit from last year, what does that do for the Steelers in the big picture or the long term? So they're more competitive in the playoffs. Great. They're picking 21st or 22nd again. That gets you further away from the next guy who's going to be your franchise quarterback. Willie, you were on the field with a guy that took you 87 yards to win a Super Bowl. The Steelers got him because they went 6-10 the season before, not because they were dead set on being 10-6 and going to the playoffs. Terry Bradshaw, a colleague here at Fox, he's got 4 rings. Why? Because they went 1-13 the season before he showed up. That's how we got him. So you're not the only person who feels this way, Willie. I know the organization does, but this fallacy or myth that the Steelers have to be decent every year, their 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks happened because they stunk the year before they got him.
So, Pony, that's interesting, and I know you were addressing Willie there, but, Willie tells me every time I bring this up that they just cannot stomach a rebuild. But you just referenced it. The last losing seasons get them Bradshaw and get them Roethlisberger. You're talking to these people every single day in Pittsburgh. Because, hey, play Will Howard, lose 13 games, draft a quarterback next year, and then let Mike McCarthy develop that guy. Do Steelers fans, does the organization, and maybe that's 2 different questions, but does the town have the stomach for a rebuild?
Danny, they've played 9 consecutive years without winning a playoff game. Yes, they want something new. Mike McCarthy, even though he's old, yes, he's a very old coach. This is not a typical Steelers move, but it's different. It's not running Mike Tomlin back for another year. For me, that was a breath of fresh air. Aaron Rodgers would be a half measure because they're trying to get this, like you're saying, have it both ways, change of pace, but also remain competitive. Believe me, fans would be all for. I think more fans actually would sign up for Will Howard as the Steelers quarterback, including me, next year in Pittsburgh than Aaron Rodgers. Because, look, even if it doesn't work out, you have your answer on Will Howard. You know he's not your guy. And then you go into a deeper quarterback pool in 2027. With Aaron Rodgers, if he's good, there's no upside. He's probably done after next year. So I'm ready to turn the page right now. The last thing I want is for September to roll around and for Aaron Rodgers to be the Steelers starting quarterback.
Well, we live in 2 different realities. I definitely want to see Aaron Rodgers roll back out there. And I think the bottom line, if you used to roll Will Howard out there and he's god-awful, I think a lot of Yunzers out there will bark all over their terrible towel. I think they'd rather have an opportunity to potentially get in, to not have a shot and not play a meaningful game in December. And I know, and I get your point. They've been through playoff droughts. But nevertheless, I look at this team right now, this present team. One of the things that hurt them outside of having a receiver too, their run game has been insufficient. So my point is there's more things to do in the kitchen to build this team up. Allow the front office, Mike McCarthy, and everything that he has in front of him, allow him to build this team up. And we'll see what happens next year. But right now, I'm comfortable with Aaron Rodgers walking through the door. And I think more Steelers fans will be happy playing meaningful games in December than saying, you know what, can't wait for the draft. We'll see what happens.
Just wait a couple of months. He'll go into the darkness, and then, Willie, I'm guessing you're going to end up getting your wish. All right, Pony, let's talk about my team now, the Chicago Bears, because Bill Barnwell today wrote about some trades that he thinks should happen, and it included DJ Moore and a first-round pick, which is the 25th pick in the draft, going to Vegas for Max Crosby and a 2027 fifth-round pick. And that would bring Max Crosby to the Bears, and he would get to team up with Caleb Williams, who he praised quite a bit. On his podcast, he described their matchup as being back and forth all day. You could take a listen to Max Crosby talking about Caleb Williams.
Our matchup was all day. You know what I mean? All day we were going back and forth, and he's competitive, bro. I'll give it to him. He was, he didn't back down. He kept getting back up and kept trying to make plays. And he definitely earned my respect.
So something tells me Crosby would be open to teaming up with Caleb Williams. Pony, would you like that trade? DJ Moore and a first for Max Crosby. Would you like it for the Bears?
I don't like it. I love it for the Bears because, let's face it, Danny, and I know you have a problem telling the truth when it comes to your team sometimes. They were the biggest fluke in NFL history last year. All right, they had six. It's true. They had 6 wins when trailing in the final 2 minutes of games. That had never happened in NFL history. They were more like a 500 team than a team that went to the divisional round. Their stats were not good defensively. They were 23rd points allowed and I think 25th total defense. So they were bad, okay? This team is not as close as their finish suggests. They were competitive against the Rams. Congratulations on all your success, but to me, there needs to be a roster upgrade, especially on defense. And if you're telling me right now that you can get, I would say conservatively, one of the 10 best defensive players in the NFL, who Chicago would love, by the way, just his personality and attitude, and all you're giving up is your 3rd best receiver, because Burden has come on, and Odunze is going to be the guy there, plus you've got Kmet and Loveland, and a first-round pick that's late in the first round, that would be an all-time heist for the Bears, and yes, you could actually feel like they're a playoff team for next year, because without this trade, I think the Bears finish 3rd or last place.
Okay, well, I'll address that part of it in a second, but I'm with you. I would love the trade. And I think that Max Crosby is a perfect Bear. And they were 21st in sack rate, 27th in pressure rate. And so, he would address a massive issue. Now, they spend a lot of money on their defense and their front seven because Montez Sweat is paid like he is, Micah Parsons, and he is not. And then the guy they signed from the Colts, Dio Odengbo, he had a terrible year, and then he got hurt. And Grady Jarrett was not good last year, and Pickens has only been okay. They have really, Javon Dexter has not lived up to his draft position. So they absolutely need to upgrade their front seven, and Max Crosby would do it. What I would say to you, though, about the Bears is, and for spurts of time, they were elite, and they ended up pulling games out, rabbit out of the hat, and all that stuff. That is all true. I'll concede all points, and their defense was atrocious. But their offense was so young. Caleb, Burden, Monangai, Odunze, all under 23 years old. They're bringing back all of those guys. They're bringing back all 5 offensive linemen. Year 2 in Ben Johnson's system, year 3 for Caleb in the NFL, I expect all of them to take a massive leap. So if the offense can actually perform consistently like they did in stretches and in particular the fourth quarter, Pony, I don't see any reason why the Bears can't have a top 5 offense in the NFL next year.
Okay, great, but Danny, they have the profile to be a team that is a serious take a step back team in 2026, and you know this. They were number 1 in the league in takeaways. They were best in the league at giveaways. Their turnover differential was by far the best in the NFL. Go look at the history of teams that do that. They come back to earth the following season, so they are not going to have the same turnover luck, and that is not going to produce an 11-6 record next year, even though, yes, they have guys in their offense that second year under Ben Johnson will do better. But I refuse to believe that they're going to take care of the football as well as they did next season. And that went a long way in determining their record, Willie, last year.
Yeah, Pony, you're way more doom and gloom than I expected on the Bears topic. Nevertheless, man, I think if they were able to acquire Max Crosby, he makes them dangerous. I think the Bears go from a cute story to a legit outfit and then a dangerous team for next season. I think now you take the attention off Montez Sweat. Everybody gets realigned and be in position. And now you have Max Crosby, who's a closer, right? Very much like how Green Bay sees Michael Parsons. And I agree with you. They need some upgrades, and that's nothing they're not aware of. I think Dennis Allen goes into this offseason and say, all right, we put all the money in the offense last year. It's time for me to go shopping, and he will do so. You kind of upgrade the linebacker position, you revamp the secondary, and you take what you have in offense, the continuity and this leadership by Caleb Williams and the rest of this young outfit, and now you add a Max Crosby on the defensive side. I'm with DP, and listen, I love going against them. I think the Bears are a more dangerous outfit going into next season than you're giving them credit for, Pony.
It's just a question, really, Boney, of because I agree with you. They will not be number 1 in takeaways, and they probably will give the ball away more. And I'll give you one more where they'll regress. The offensive line will not be as healthy as it was this season. But can the addition of a guy like Crosby and the progression of all of those young guys in the offense overcome those statistical regressions that you and I are anticipating?
I mean, the other thing that is not what you want to hear is, even though he was spectacular with unbelievable throws late in games against Green Bay and the Rams, I'm also just not convinced that Caleb Williams is the guy yet. He was a 58% passer. He cut his turnovers, interceptions way down. They weren't very high his rookie year to begin with, but it's not like he's a reckless player per se. But we're comparing him to guys from his draft class like Jaden Daniels, who's already gone to an NFC Championship game, and Drake May, who just took a team to a Super Bowl and had the highest completion percentage in the NFL and was a vote shy of being the MVP. I think there's a scenario next year where he is the third quarterback in his division behind Jared Goff and Jordan Love. So you don't want to hear that, but that's just the reality of things. Great, spectacular, clutch player. I don't see him as an elite player in a 60-minute football game enough, though.
Go get Max Crosby. Go get a defense. And I will bet on his talent and his coach any day of the week. Pony, we will talk to you a little bit later on in the show. Good stuff, my friend. We just did an NFL pod together.
I would take him off the Christmas card list.
Yeah, no, listen, that's why he's the absolute best. We might have the best, weirdest, and the weirdest and the wonderfulest from the weekend. This video is unbelievable. It's all coming up on FTA.
So good, so good, so good.
New spring arrivals are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Get ready to save big with up to 60% off Rag & Bone, Marc Jacobs, Free People, and more.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Because there's always something new.
Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
It's time for Danny's Weird and Wonderful.
Okay.
Which makes sense, because I'm Danny.
That's your name.
That's me. Yeah. And I like to start positive, so we begin with wonderful. Tyler Reddick wins the Daytona 500 on Fox, racing for Michael Jordan-owned 2311 Racing Team. And the guys did such a great job at Daytona last Thursday and Friday, but you might have remembered the old most to gain, most to lose list? Well, on Nick Wright's most to lose list, it was Michael Jordan across the board. Chicago Bull Michael Jordan, Hornets owner Michael Jordan, NASCAR owner Michael Jordan. That's from Friday. Flash cut to Sunday. And there's the champ, Michael Jordan, recreating the iconic trophy thing. He said it was like he won another championship, Willie. That's wonderful.
That's hard to believe. How much do you think? Like, it looked like he was crying. Like, he was that emotional. He talked about his team and everything they endured and how the win was so big. To see Mike cry over another trophy, I thought I would never see it in another lifetime.
I think he loves winning. I think he loves competition. And so when his fishing team does well, it makes him happy. When he wins money on the golf course, it makes him happy. So I bought it. Like that celebration, I thought it was genuine, and I think he was extra motivated.
So Jordan's our walking, breathing Buddha. So we just got to rub Michael Jordan if we want to win.
I've heard worse ideas. Weird. We go to the Olympics, dual moguls. There are two people doing moguls at the same time. You're going the wrong direction. She finishes the race going back. Finishes the race going backwards.
That's a flex.
I gotta say, every time I watch an Olympic event, I'm more amazed than the time before.
How
did you do that?
I would have been horrible, because chances are I probably would have been wearing underwear, so that would have been trouble for me.
Oh, you wouldn't have been able to do the moguls?
Yeah.
That shocks me.
I'm saying there's a cap to my athleticism there, dude.
I believe it. Let's go to wonderful. Really incredible story. I would say maybe the signature moment in the history of the LIV Tour. Anthony Kim wins LIV Golf Adelaide, his first title since 2010. This is a man who had been 16 years between wins. He had been battling alcoholism and drug addiction to such severe levels that he shared that he would go into the porta potties during golf tournaments to do drugs while competing professionally away from the sport for years. Chases down John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and wins this golf tournament with a flawless final round with his 4-year-old daughter in attendance. This was truly an incredible sports moment.
Yeah, it is a story of triumph and resilience, and who knows what this man has been through when the lights weren't on him, man. So to see him kind of hold on to his family in this moment. It's everything. I mean, it reminds me when we saw Stafford getting the MVP with his daughters. It just wraps you get caught up in a moment. So congratulations to the young fella right here.
Yeah, Anthony Kim. It was a really, really incredible story. Let's get back to the weird. You're supposed to do spectacular dunks in the dunk contest. I don't know if Jaxson Hayes got.
Did you watch this?
I caught the highlights, Willie. yeah. I mean, is weird being kind to what this is?
I watched this, and I honestly thought it may be time to cancel the slam dunk contest. It was so bad.
And, grade inflation. What's going on? A 47?
The judges look asleep.
A 47. I couldn't do it, but if every player in the NBA can do your dunk, it's probably not.
I don't know if you saw Jason Richardson's son participated in this.
Yeah, Jace Richardson. Yeah, and big ouchie.
Yeah, and he almost knocked himself out.
Yeah. I was glad he got up.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. On the wonderful side, though, Steph Curry's good. From the NBA Showtime set, that's a pretty good trick shot.
Such a flex.
It's just
such a flex.
The other thing is, I'd love to know the stats on it. I bet you he's 30% to hit that shot. I don't think anything there.
I don't think anybody in the NBA can hit that shot.
No, but I think he can do it 30% of the time.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, he does the pregame warm-up from the tunnel. The guy is an absolute one of one. It was incredible.
I think he knows voodoo.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. So back to the weird. I'm glad Caleb Williams is my quarterback. And not my shooting guard, because he struggled during the celebrity three-point.
Don't invest in this. I don't think this tells into how he's going to perform next year.
Oh, I don't think it means he's not clutch.
Right.
I saw plenty of fourth quarter performances from him, but I was like, can we cut the camera away from Caleb? It was a lot of.
Yeah,
bricks.
you would want to see your quarterback be clutch from three, but obviously that's not his strong suit.
I didn't love it. This I did love. Karl Anthony Towns, Knicks fan, know he sometimes struggles with defensive rotation. The only way the Stars team could lose in this spot was if they gave up a three. And so Cat goes with the dude to get to allow.
It's a hard watch. As a Knicks fan, it's a hard watch.
And look at Wemby at the back. He gets so mad. He's like, "What are you doing?
What are
you doing?" And post game, he's like, "We just had to defend the three.
That's it."
And then we didn't defend the three. So Karl Anthony Towns bringing his NBA defense to the All-Star game. It was pretty spectacular.
Tough, Wemby. Sorry, Wemby.
Victor Wembanyama cares, though. All right, now let's go to Tampa, where the Bucs closed out the season. They lost 7 of their final 9, missed the playoffs for the first time since 2019. And Levante David, we'll see if he ends up coming back. But basically, he said, we controlled our own destiny, and we bleeped the bed down the stretch. So he put it solely on them. Do you believe, Willie, that we're in store for a Bucs and Baker bounce back next year?
It's going to be tough, man. I agree with you. This team was 6-2 at one point, and they flat out finished the season 8-9. And I'm sitting here looking at this Bucs defense, who was the face of this team, right? Baker, I thought was, to me, and maybe I could be wrong, he surprised me, especially a good 5 games in. You talk about that shootout he had with Sam Darnold in Seattle.
Yeah,
and
right.
he was like, man, we may be talking about Baker as an MVP. And I thought he tried to stabilize his team for a good portion of the season. It was the defense and Todd Bowles' defense, who's known for blitzing, hard-nosed, tackling, protecting on the back end. I go back to that game against the Falcons late in the season where Kirk Cousins played, man. They blew that game.
Yes, they did.
Solely because of how this defensive played. So if you're talking about the future of the Bucs with your captain Levante David, who's played 14 seasons, potentially taking walking out the stadium.
The fact that he said this though on the podcast made me think Levante David is coming back. He's like, we blew it down the stretch. We can bounce back. It seemed like he was talking about coming back. But regardless,
when you listen to Todd Bowles at the end of his pressers, he had an issue with the guys' pride, how they approach their work. This wasn't just an X and O issue. This was a cultural issue, right? Yeah. So he was mad at his guys not taking pride at losing games that they should have won, especially in the fourth quarter. So now you're talking about going into a season where if you look at this Bucs defense, they need an edge rusher. They need somebody to close out games. So as much as we sit here and we talk about Max Crosby landing on your beloved Bears, he would be a fresh of breath air for this Bucs defense because they need somebody to get after quarterback, especially in that division. Nevertheless, man, could they have a bounce back season? Yes, but defensively, they're going to have to recoup and find a leader, nevertheless, because they don't have one on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so I think you and I are pretty aligned here. I expect the Bucs offense to bounce back because they were ravaged by injury. And generally speaking, I will think that is randomness and that you're going to be so listen, Mike Evans, he's getting older, no doubt. Godwin had the massive injury a couple of years ago, but like if you look at players on the offense who missed, 5+ games, it's 60% of their offensive line and 60% of their skill position group, including the best guys. So I do think it was the 5th most guys missed due to injury on any offense in football. So I expect the offense to be better just by health. And then you use the 15th pick in the draft on defense, and you have all of your draft picks. You hit on a couple of defensive rookies, get younger on that side of the ball. Vita Vea might be his last year in Tampa. Yeah. We just talked about Levante David. You got to infuse some speed and some youth on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to be carried by your offense. I don't think you could be a top 10 defense, but if you just get healthy on offense and a little younger on defense, I think they can get back on top of the NFC South.
And I also think they got to understand that Saints are going to be a different team. The Falcons are going to be a different team because of Kevin Stefanski and what they have offensively. So now you're talking about division. And by the way, Carolina's a different team, right? So now you're talking about division where everybody you pretty much stepped on the last 2 years have now arose. So if you're the Bucs right now, this offseason defensively, you have to find yourself in a way that can combat all those offenses that now have arrived. So it's going to be interesting. And it's a big year for Todd Bowles, man.
Yeah, Todd Bowles will definitely go into this upcoming year on the hot seat. Tons of stories from the NBA this weekend, including LeBron James once again being asked about his future. Not exactly committal, but we've got some guesses of what the future holds for LeBron coming up on First Things First. Thanks for hanging out with us live from New York for the second hour of First Things First. Danny Parkins, Willie Colon. We'll talk to Andrew Filipponi in a little bit for a special edition of Frenemies. But coming up this hour, got a lot of great stuff for you, including talk of the Eagles moving on from A.J. Brown. To stay, to go.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Oh, how do you deal with a player as talented, but at times as distracting as A.J. Brown? Also asking the question, who's got the makeup and the profile to be next season's Patriots, an out-of-nowhere team with longer than 60-1 odds before the year, who ended up with nearly having the MVP and winning the Lombardi Trophy. But we begin the hour in the NBA, coming off All-Star Weekend, where LeBron James, he added another record, 22 consecutive years as a All-Star selection. Did not end up playing a ton last night, but of course made his appearance. He spoke on his future at All-Star Weekend. Here's LeBron on his looming retirement decision.
No, I don't. I think what I want to do at 45, 50, and 55 will be a lot of creating great vibes and fun with my family and my friends. That's one of my passions, create memories that will last forever, and so that's for sure, that's the most important for me.
He also said when he knows, we will know about his future in the NBA. So, Willie, is it more likely LeBron retires or lands somewhere else?
I think he's going to retire.
You do?
I do. Wow. I think you're talking about a Laker team who realizes that this is probably his last run as a Laker. They're not building this team around him. They're going to build it around Luka and Austin Reeves and continue to figure out how they can fill some holes. Nevertheless, LeBron, I give him all the credit in the world to play as well as he's played. He's averaging 22 points a game. He's been absolutely phenomenal at his age. I don't think we've ever seen a guy at his age play this well and this great. But I think at the end of the day, his home is LA. This is. I think he's accomplished everything he's needed to accomplish. I think he's answered all the naysayers. I think right now, if you're LeBron James, is what else do you have to prove? Because I don't honestly know what brings him back, right? Is it a healthier roster? Is it more pieces to kind of? I think he realizes this is it. And I think he also understands to some degree, maybe he's kind of burnt that bridge a little bit with front office, right? Because they've given him everything he's ever wanted and needed, and this is the product right now. They're fifth in the West. Going forward, they're not going to beat a Denver. They're not going to beat the San Antonio Spurs. They got bumped last year by the Oklahoma Thunder. So if you're talking about what this team looks at for the next 5 years, I think he knows and the front office knows it doesn't include LeBron James a part of that picture.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm with you on that. I can't see him with the Lakers again, but I don't think he's done. I definitely think that they are building around Luka, and they should build around Luka. And LeBron at his age, doing what he's doing. I mean, he had a triple-double the other night.
He's phenomenal. I don't take nothing away from his play.
And he's a basketball genius, and he's a chameleon. He can figure. You need me to be a passer. You need me to be a scorer. You need me to do this. He will do whatever is needed on the court. It's a remarkable thing. I cannot see him playing for a fourth franchise. I don't think he's going to go try to learn something new at this point of his career.
So then you have to question, what's your why then?
The Cavs. I think it makes so much sense, and I can talk the basketball reasons of the Cavs here in a second, but also watch LeBron his whole career, right? Like I went to a All-Star game when he was in high school at the United Center.
You went to a lot of games, DP.
Dude, I very, very proud.
You've been outside for a while now.
Yeah, no, but I saw LeBron in high school, watched his whole career. He's a remarkable athlete, and he does like attention. Like he's the chosen one, right?
Did you hear his statement? He goes, "I just want to live."
Right.
But he holds everybody hostage, because I think this question has been following him for some time. Like, if you know the Lakers are coming to, or you're coming to the end of the road with the Lakers, you want to possibly land back in Cleveland for a team who's ranked 4th in the East, who I think has a lot of potential with Donovan Mitchell. But that would mean other people will have to move aside for you to be there. Well, there has to be a reconstruction.
Yeah, so that's the basketball piece of it. Would LeBron take a discount? He basically never has.
He's making $51 million this year.
No, I know, but he's also, no one's ever made more money playing basketball in the history of the sport.
Facts.
Like, he has his company, he's launched all of his friends' companies, they're all wildly successful.
Everybody eats.
Right. Like, now he is still worth, based on his production, $40, $50 million. And then what he's actually worth in terms of tickets, merchandise, box office interest, he's worth well over $100 million, right? So he has never really, took a little bit in 2014, took a very small one with the Lakers for a minute. But would he be willing for his last year to play for the minimum to go try to win a championship where it all started as just a kid from Akron in Cleveland, and go play with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? If he's not willing to play for the minimum, the Cavs are going to need to trade Jared Allen.
Right.
And that obviously weakens them in the front court, and it weakens them defensively. But Mobley is still great, and I think that they would still make that trade-off to bring in LeBron James because he's LeBron James. But I think everything that I know about LeBron and his career and how he's operated in the media space, I'll just be floored if the season ends, they get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. He's like, I'm going to take some time to think about it. And then 4 weeks later, he announces on Instagram that he's retired. I think we're going to get the farewell tour and the long goodbye and the celebration of his career.
But see, I think that's unfair to a team like Cleveland, who has momentum, right? Who's competing in the top 5 in the East. When you bring along LeBron James, it's about LeBron James.
Yeah.
It's about the tour. And I get it, right? We watched him in Cleveland. He's kind of having a stoic moment. The people are on their feet. They're cheering. He's getting emotional. He's crying. We've never seen that aspect from him as far as being emotional. And you can tell Cleveland is home. It means a lot to him.
Yeah.
But if I'm Cleveland and it doesn't work out, and you've had to make all these moves when you've had momentum the last 2 years, it would feel like an epic mistake. It would feel like, yeah, we're doing it just because the hometown kid wants to come home.
Well, but he makes you better. If LeBron James plays for you on the minimum contract, he makes every team in the league better. If he plays for you for $50 million, it's a different conversation. And again, I don't know that he'd be willing to play for the minimum.
And he won't.
Maybe not. And especially like him and Dan Gilbert, I went back to look through the quotes. He's like, we have a fine relationship. We have a business relationship. Obviously, it was really rocky.
Water underneath the bridge at this point.
The first time he left Cleveland, looks at it as, so I don't know that he'd be willing to give Dan Gilbert that type of, what would amount to in terms of real value, like a 9-figure 1-year discount. But LeBron he's very attuned to what his story is. And
he's always controlled this narrative.
Right, but so it's a pretty great story to bookend your career as the kid from Akron who got drafted to the Cavs, who brought the championship to Cleveland, to play one last year in Cleveland and do the farewell tour, it's a pretty great end of the story. And so while I don't think he's going to be a Laker, and I certainly don't see him doing a new franchise like the Knicks, and Miami's not good enough, like, going back home to Cleveland for the goodbye, I think, makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but when you watch a happy ending, when you watch a story, you want to see a happy ending. If he doesn't win, right, and this thing doesn't go according to plan, now we're looking at LeBron as a loser, right?
I don't think so.
We're looking as a guy who we sold a bill of goods to, saying, hey, man, you come to Cleveland, we have this Disney-type ending, and if it doesn't land, we're like, well, thanks, LeBron. Like, nobody wants to go out like that.
Yeah, but, I mean, listen, he's not going to go out a champion this year. This Lakers team cannot win.
Facts. I agree.
I know people, listen, it's the Lakers and it's Luka, and Luka drafted that Mavs team.
And they need a big. They don't have a big. There's a lot of things holding them back.
And the deadline's gone.
Correct.
So they cannot get good enough defensively this year to win in the West. So he will not win in LA this year. So he's already, to use your word, go out a loser. Like, I don't think that will tarnish it. And if he plays for the minimum, man, it'll be like the narrative will be, man, LeBron did it for the love of the game.
Yeah, but I also think when you see what he's able to accomplish by bringing Bronny in-house, him walking off the court finally, his final goodbye, whatever that is, as a Laker, feels better to me than landing in Cleveland and it ends bad.
Maybe. Walk off the court with your son, also a great 100%. End to the story. Let's get back to the NFL here, talk some Cowboys, where it's been reported that the Cowboys plan on franchise tagging wide receiver George Pickens. The franchise tag window opens tomorrow, but the deadline isn't for a couple of weeks. NFL insider Ian Rappaport noted, though, that Dallas may be willing to entertain trade offers for Pickens once he's tagged, suggesting that even a second-round pick might be willing to get it done. Willie, do you think it's better for the Cowboys to keep George Pickens or trade him this offseason?
Well, you don't get rid of a 26-year-old alpha receiver. Like, it just doesn't happen. I fell in love with George Pickens this year because I felt like he finally found a home with Dak Prescott and CD and that whole offense. What scares me about Pickens is, and there's an old adage, I don't know if you ever heard it before, you can't feed a full tick, right? Like, if you give him his money.
You always have great sayings.
Well, you know, I'm privileged. I guess it.
Yeah. I saw a lot of games. You got great sayings. Can't
right.
feed a full tick.
Well, I've been on punishment a lot. But I would say this. What bothers me, I go back to the game against Detroit when CD got hurt.
Yeah.
And he got knocked out. And they called for him to show up. This was a moment I was like, man, finally, he's going to have the stage. In Detroit, he's going to have this big monster game. He's going to rally this team. They're going to get after it. They leaned on him. They couldn't find him on tape.
Yep.
That's what bothers me. So there's no question.
So isn't that a reason to trade him?
No.
The fear of giving him money
no, because
and then he's going to do the knucklehead thing again?
No, because if you're Jerry right now and this Dallas Cowboys team, I know the Eagles are probably the favorite to win the division, but if you talk about they revamping this defense, now you have Dak, CD, now you're talking about Schottenheimer in year 2. I think the Cowboys are a dark horse next year. I think they're a legit threat, especially offensively. Now, they can do some things in the back end. I think they can be a lot more better team, and a team that can pretty much show up in the playoff time. You don't get rid of George Pickens because what he means to you offensively, he blows the top off defense. He's a mismatch nightmare. So I think you keep him in-house. You try to make it work. I would franchise tag him. I'll keep keeping the carrot over his head, keep chasing it, and get the best out of him.
So listen, I think that a smart, like economics-based, analytics-based approach is, hey, we traded a third and a fifth for George Pickens. Yeah. He gave us a career year in catches, yards, and touchdowns. He was second-team All-Pro. And then we trade him for a second-round pick, and then we get a second-round pick, and then we use that money to sign a guy like Alec Pierce in free agency, who's a really good receiver, but he doesn't have some of the effort issues or those types of questions. Like, I think that is like a really fundamentally sound, smart way to run a professional football team. And it doesn't sound at all like the Dallas Cowboys. I think you could like right brain talk yourself into that being the logical thing to do. But my gut, what I think is going to actually happen is they're going to offer George Pickens the franchise tag. It's going to come right up until the deadline, and then he's going to reluctantly accept it. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be talking about him missing minicamp. And then we're going to be talking about missing and then we're going to talk about missing OTAs. And Jerry is going to talk about wanting to sign him to a long-term deal. And Pickens isn't going to agree.
Sounds very on brand, by the way.
Well, that's what
You're
I'm saying.
Like painting the story.
Yeah,
consistency with the Dallas Cowboys.
To the production room, I would like us to please, control room, can we get a scoreboard somewhere in the studio for number of times we do? What are the Cowboys going to do with George Pickens this offseason? Because it was the same with CeeDee Lamb, and it was the same with Micah, and it was the same with Dak. And what Jerry will do is he likes the drama of the offseason. So like George Pickens is going to be one of the main characters of drama of the offseason. He'll ultimately play for Dallas, ultimately be a distraction, and I'm sure produce, because he is a wildly talented football player. So my expectations is that they will keep George Pickens, but this is not going to go smoothly.
Right, but I would also play big brother for a second for George Pickens and tell him fit matters. He fits in Dallas, right? When you have Dak Prescott and CD and that combination of guys and the momentum you we're able to acquire at the end of the season, you have to feel like next season, man, we can make a legit run. He lands on another team. I don't know if he's going to have the same type of production, because mostly a team that can pay for a guy like him is not necessarily a good team, right? They have money to spend and cap to kind of use.
Well, and remember, he was a first-round talent who fell to the second round because of some questions about character and discipline.
100%.
So a 1-year, fully guaranteed $28 million deal, it is the biggest contract he has signed. Like
I'm not taking the money away from him.
Well, no, but I'm saying like he might, while all players want a long-term security, 1 year fully guaranteed $28 million is not a bad deal for
the bag is the bag, but you also play to win, and you want to go somewhere where you can win. Just because the money's great, not necessarily you're going to win. That's every guy in free agency deals with that.
Yeah, well, I expect him to be in Dallas, and I expect it to have a lot of turbulence on the flight, I would say, to get there. Another interesting story, big report today coming out in Jacksonville that the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're planning to make Travis Hunter a full-time cornerback and a part-time wide receiver. We can look at his stats after his rookie year, and they were what he was, right? Played 7 games. Honestly, a massive disappointment given what they traded up from the 5th pick to the 2nd pick. But in terms of just the plan, scrapping the idea of full-time two-way player, full-time corner, part-time receiver, do you like this plan going forward for Travis Hunter?
Yeah, it's pretty dumb that we've now come to this conclusion when this should have been the plan once he left Colorado. Like, I felt like this should have been the plan.
Yeah, you and I disagreed on this one, but you're looking more correct than I am.
Yeah, because I think it's harder to play corner in this league. It's a bigger adjustment. If he would have had a year under his belt where he was solely focused on a position, I think he would be a better ball player, and the Jaguars would be in a better position rolling him into this position. I think it's easier to adjust at the receiver position because of packages and situations and formations you can allow him to eat. Nevertheless, man, when you talk about a guy now dealing with a knee injury and potentially losing Craig Newsome to free agency, that's going to be an issue. There's going to be a lot put on his plate to show up. I think he's a world-class athlete. I think he's a stud. I think he could do things that a lot of guys on the field can't do that are built like him at his position. Nevertheless, when you look forward to his upside, I would take away receiver. And to be honest, and I know it's hard. I'd be like, well, Willie, you focus on one side of the ball. For me, it's necessary for this defense because of how we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars right now and what led this team to have the potential and go into Denver and beat Bo Nix and that team was their defense. Trevor Lawrence had a big game, but it was the defensive side of the ball that stood up. So to stabilize this defense, man, I would say, young fella, we know what you can do, but this is what we need. We need you to be a lockdown #1 corner for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, you can say that what I'm about to say doesn't matter because it's about the past and it's a sunk cost and you just need to move on. But if that happens, it was a terrible trade. And it was a terrible pick because you traded up from 5 to 2 to take a corner. That's ridiculous.
But I also
they gave up the 5th pick, a 2nd rounder, a 4th rounder, and their first this year, which is the 24th pick in the draft. Like, you don't give that up for a cornerback. Like, he needs to be Patrick Surtain. He needs to be Devin Witherspoon in order to live up to it. And
Patrick Surtain plays one side of the ball.
No, I understand. But I'm saying the level of corner that he needs to be in order to justify just being the 2nd pick in the draft is, like, you need to be a top 2 or 3 cornerback in football. Plus all the extra picks you gave up to get him. So, like, I'm glad to hear they are not abandoning the idea of him at least contributing on the offensive side of the ball because the only reason to justify that trade-up is if he is a truly special, transcendent type of player.
I think it's good to have options. I love that he has the ability to play receiver. But when you talk about possibly losing Craig Newsome, as I mentioned, possibly losing Devin Lloyd, the star linebacker for that team, for Jacksonville, you're going to show up. You have to show up this season. Because, listen, The Jaguars, their record gets harder next year, right? Like
the schedule,
The schedule, excuse me. Like, they play the AFC East. I know they'll probably walk through that, but they got the NFC West, right? We know what the NFC West looks like from a quarterback standpoint and receiver standpoint. You're going to need this kid fully invested, and you got to worry about volume. You're already dealing with a knee injury. As he get older, more injuries, more things happen. So for me, I would tell this young fella, I love what you can do, but this is what we need you to do. On your side of the ball.
And I understand. You remember when Brandon Staley took over the job with the Chargers, and he was like, I'm going to go for it on like every fourth down.
Yeah.
Right? He was super aggressive. And he went for it, and he went for it, and he went for it. And then for a while, they weren't converting. Their conversion rate was below average. And then he stopped, and he changed what he was. I was like, oh man, you got.
He was having breakdowns at pressers. He was mental breakdowns.
Right. Well, and then your team starts looking around like, wait, what do you actually believe in? Like, but Dan Campbell, he would go for it on fourth down a bunch, and then even if they would fail, he would keep going for it on fourth down because he really believed in it. If Jacksonville believed so much that Travis Hunter could be a transcendent player on both sides of the ball, that they were willing to trade up from 5 to 2, and it was their general manager's first ever pick as a GM. And then 7 games into his career, you're abandoning that plan entirely?
I don't think it's abandoning, DP. I think, like, listen, if you're serious about going to the playoffs, making a deep run in the playoffs, you need your best player on the field. You put him at the receiver position, at the cornerback position, that opens up more windows for him to get hurt, especially coming off a knee. He's going to have to adjust to that. And he's going to be most likely guarding another team's #1 receiver. So my point, limit the risk, right? Limit the risk if you feel like you have a playoff outfit that can make a run. You lost. You know why you lost to the Bills? Because you had some miscommunication on the back end. Your secondary couldn't hold up, and you watched Josh Allen put on the cape and beat you in Jacksonville. So I'm looking at this and say, hey, kid, I love it. All right, I'm glad that you have the Wi-Fi and extra Bluetooth and you got the 2 TVs in the back. But I just need to get home, right? And the home is the Super Bowl. That's the goal, and we can't get home without you. So if I can limit those risks and have you when it's ready to go, when we need you on the field, fine. That's what I'm willing to sacrifice. That doesn't mean I can't go to you when I need you.
So you wouldn't give up on offense entirely, but just master one side of the ball first?
100%.
Okay. Listen, it's reasonable. I just don't want them to abandon it because I was still hoping that he could transcend the sport. Nick Wright is on vacation, but we're still doing frenemies? How is that possible? You'll find out on the other side. First things first. It is time for a special edition of Frenemies. The only...
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Person that Nick Wright and I would allow under this umbrella is our good friend from college in the group chat, does a great job at 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, Andrew Filipponi. We both come from the world of sports radio, so we begin in the very dangerous world of Philadelphia sports radio, where Eagles legend Jason Kelce made known his thoughts on A.J. Brown and all of the off-field drama that the wide receiver brings to Philadelphia. Take a listen.
It's incredibly frustrating, right? I think any player that's out there when you're seeing a teammate not they go all out, like that's all you want from your teammates. And that's all we want as fans. And it's a really hard thing to optically watch. I think part of it is that he's a great player and, teammates want him there and know that he can be a dominating force for them. But, those frustrations, he's just the unfortunate player who allows his internal frustrations to manifest into his play. And it makes him play worse. It makes the offense worse. And it makes his energy worse.
Pony, I thought that was really well said by Jason Kelce. What do you think the Eagles should do with A.J. Brown this offseason?
Well, first of all, shout out WIP that they can still get Jason Kelce in studio with them.
As a radio guy, I thought the same thing. I was like, man, in studio. That's a great job by them.
So he's either still getting paid bigly by WIP or he's doing that out of the goodness of his heart. Either way, tremendous that he's there and he's willing to say these things. I have done a 180 on this, and you don't know that because we have not talked about these things since we no longer do a podcast together. But I have for a long time been a big Jalen Hurts guy. I have given that up. I have switched. I have done a real kind of character change on this, and I would actually look to move Jalen Hurts before A.J. Brown. And I understand that that is a very kind of strange admission on my part because it's the quarterbacks who make the wide receivers and not the other way around. Danny, right now, I am leaning in the direction of saying, actually, I'll say it. I think we've seen Jalen Hurts' best football already. He turns 28 this summer. I think we've already seen him at his apex as a player. He's an expensive player. He doesn't want to throw the ball over the middle. Their offense, with offensive line injuries, with Saquon Barkley not being an elite player last year or as good as the year before, we saw Hurts take a tremendous step back. And I don't think it was only the offensive coordinator. So to me, I know you can't do these things quietly, but I would actually see what I could get for Jalen Hurts this offseason if I'm Howie Roseman.
So listen, this is one of those things that sounds great on WIP and it sounds great during frenemies, but like in the real world, can you trade Jalen Hurts? Like trading a Super Bowl MVP who is 28 years old, who signs the largest contract in franchise history, I don't really have a comp off the top of my head for it, but to be clear, because I'll go down the road with you, I think A.J. Brown is a better receiver than Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, right? So I do agree that A.J. Brown is better at his premium position than Jalen Hurts is at his, and that if you do trade A.J. Brown, that is the football equivalent of shooting the messenger. Because like what he was saying was, hey, we need to be better at passing the ball. And like this is ultimately gonna stop us from winning if we cannot produce more on offense. So like I think A.J. Brown was a truth teller, even if over the last couple of years he has done it in ways that you would not love in terms of chemistry and generating good vibes for your football team. But is there any way, like in reality, that you could see Philly actually doing it? Because it seems too impractical to me.
Well, I don't know about impractical. You're right. There's really no precedent for it. But we're talking about Howie Roseman, who is, I think, by nature, the most aggressive general manager in the NFL. I think he tends to do bold things. Yeah. I don't think he's a guy who rests on his laurels and just kind of sees what's going to happen. If there's anybody that would break the mold and do something outside of the box, I think it's him. I think the question becomes, even though we hear all the time about how there's 5 to 10 teams that always need a quarterback, would somebody want to take his contract on? You know, that like how in demand is Jalen Hurts? Because look, I don't think they're going to win another Super Bowl with him. I just don't. I think we saw last year the biggest, most puzzling thing about the Eagles offense, in addition to how the middle of the field is just off limits, his rushing numbers went down incredibly. Lowest since his rookie year, 421 rushing yards, only 8 rushing touchdowns. If you remove more of the dual part of his game, I think he turns into a very average quarterback. So A.J. Brown is probably going to be the guy that gets moved, but I don't really see how that fixes things at all for the Philly offense. You take away a source of controversy and angst and stress like Jason Kelce was talking about, but you're also getting rid of a guy that's probably at worst a top 10, top 15 wide receiver, and I don't see how that magically makes your quarterback now freed up and now he's more relaxed because he doesn't have a guy on the sideline telling him, throw me the ball. Danny, I think there's a chance, I'll make this comparison too. After Joe Flacco signed that contract following that magical run with the Ravens in 2012, he won only one more playoff game with Baltimore, but they felt like they had to pay him, which I think is the same exact situation that we have right now unfolding with the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know how the only way you justify moving on from A.J. Brown, because my guess is that Philadelphia just has a higher tolerance for discomfort, and they're fine letting us talk about it because he's definitely not top 15. I think it's somewhere between top 5 and top 10, and he's been a dominant receiver for them for the last 3 years. My guess is they just grit their teeth and bear it, and they bring A.J. Brown back next year. But you're 100% right. Jalen Hurts is regressing, and they've got to figure out a way to get playoff Jalen Hurts to perform for them during the regular season. But you're right. You plugged it. We used to do a podcast together, and so you and I have not talked in a public forum, Pony, since the Super Bowl. And it was a fun Super Bowl in the sense that before the year, neither team was expected to be there. Like the Patriots came in, they were at a 60-1 odds at this time last year to win the Super Bowl. So I will ask you this. Which long shot team has the makeup, has the formula to become next year's Patriots?
So they were 60-1. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl at 60-1 as well. That's where they were preseason. So last year was the year of like these off-season underdogs, teams that nobody gave a shot to. I have always been, one of my favorite things to do every offseason is find the second-year quarterback who's going to make that second-year leap and designate that my Super Bowl team or team that comes out of nowhere. Mahomes in his second year, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow go into the Super Bowl,
Caleb Williams,
even Trevor Lawrence, Drake May last year. I mean, there's tons of guys who have done this. So that's why I like the Giants, Danny. I'm a guy that believes the New York Giants, with Jaxson Dart in his second year, we saw him have a 91.7 passer rating last year. Malik Nabers only played 4 games. Look at when New England went from an incompetent coach in Gerard Mayo to a guy with a track record in Mike Vrabel, what he did in Tennessee. I'm not the biggest John Harbaugh fan. I find him to be very smug and arrogant, and I think he underachieved, frankly, with Lamar Jackson. But in my opinion, I think that the Giants, I think 75-1 right now, I think they can win double-digit games because Jaxson Dart is the QB I see taking that big step forward this year.
So they're going to be everyone's worst to first pick because Malik Nabers is a stud. Even if I agree with you completely that John Harbaugh underachieved with the double-digit leads that they blew, underachieving relative to seed in the playoffs, which their owner talked about at the press conference when they justified the firing of John Harbaugh. Like my biggest pushback would be if John Harbaugh couldn't break through and win with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, why do I expect him to do it with Jaxson Dart and Cam Scatterbo? I think they will be better, and I think Jaxson Dart looks good, but it's hard for me to imagine that this guy's going to do it with this caliber of talent if he couldn't do it with the caliber in Baltimore.
But I'll answer that question for you. Lamar Jackson is one of the worst big-game quarterbacks in NFL history among upper-crust players. He's terrible in big games. He's not good against the Steelers, his arch rival. He's horrible against the Chiefs. His stats plummet in the playoffs. That's a big reason. He had Mike McDonald there as the defensive coordinator with John Harbaugh. They couldn't sniff a Super Bowl. He was terrible offensively in that home AFC Championship game against Kansas City outside of one throw he made in the first half of this game. I think it stands to reason Jaxson Dart is a more clutch player and a guy who shows up in pressure-packed games more than Lamar Jackson. And you know that. Come on now. Lamar Jackson is not a guy who delivers in January, and Jaxson Dart might be one who does.
Well, keyword there, might. Right? We have seen Lamar Jackson underperform in January. We have yet to see Jaxson Dart in January, period. So we do not know that Jaxson Dart could do it. But I will say, though a lot of the conversation about Jaxson Dart was, this guy plays reckless, this guy gets too many concussions. You actually go back and you watch the extended highlights of his season, the 27-minute thing that NFL Network put out, he is really impressive. Like, arm talent, mobility, creativity, off-schedule throws. Like, I do think there's a very high-ceiling player in there in Jaxson Dart. The question is Matt Nagy and John Harbaugh the guy to get it out of him?
Well, you know more about Nagy. I mean, that's a great question. I think their defense is going to be much better too. I mean, let's look at that for a second. With Abdul Carter, you've got Dexter Lawrence had a half a sack last year in 17 games. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. If they're just an average defense, I see them potentially winning with a last place schedule 10 or 11 games next year, Danny. That is my pick for a team. You're right. They're going to be very trendy and popular. But I think the coach-quarterback combination we saw in New England worked, and I see it happening in New York this season as well.
And you said 75-1? I would take that. I would take that return on investment.
Yes, sir.
Andrew Filipponi, 93.7 in Pittsburgh. It's been giving out winners to me since college, and a lot of losers as well. He'll be back later on in the show. Antoine Walker joins us to discuss.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius, Live Fit Go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
Whether or not that format was a success for All-Star Weekend. Coming up on First Things First.
I ain't gonna lie, Wemby set the tone. Like, he came out playing hard, so it's hard not to match that. So that's what happened.
It's a game we love, It's a game I personally cherish. So being competitive is the least I can do.
Well, you heard it from the players there on the court. A lot of discussion about the new format. Does it work? Should it stay? Team World, Team USA. Are they playing hard enough? Yeah, that's right. Danny's top 5 players who gave a bleep. Producers are like, you really want us to say that? I'm like, yeah, I do. Because I've been watching the All-Star game my entire life. I love it. And I was at it in 2020 in Chicago, and it was fine because they cared, because it was the first All-Star game after Kobe Bryant passed away. And guys cared because they named the MVP trophy after him. So I put together a little list of the top 5 players who gave a bleep during the All-Star game, because that's what mattered. Coming in at number 5, Cade Cunningham. He's a young guy. He's a guard. He was playing at full speed. He had 11 points in one of the games, steals, running all over the court. He's playing for his coach, JB Bickerstaff, the Pistons, going for the 1 seed, the team that plays with a lot of intensity and a lot of effort. They were well represented. One of the brightest futures in the NBA, Cade Cunningham, did a great job. Number 4, Kawhi Leonard. He's a replacement. He's playing in front of his home fans. That's a historic All-Star moment with the 31 points in the game. He was absolutely dominant. He was representing for the older heads out there. And by the way, Kawhi Leonard playing like he's going to make first-team All-NBA. He's got a shot at it because he's going to hit that 65-game threshold if he stays healthy the rest of the year. Kawhi Leonard having a great year. Could have easily been the MVP last night. Coming in at number 3, you heard him there, Anthony Edwards. He did win the MVP. He said he wanted to put on a show in front of Barack Obama. He said that Wemby set the tone. Young guy, athleticism, guy who cares. Is he going to loaf at times and shoot too many threes? Sure. But in that setting, an exhibition where he can showcase his talents, Anthony Edwards was a spectacular All-Star game participant. Going back to number 2, Jalen Duren. Same logic with the Pistons from earlier in Cade Cunningham. Playing with JB Bickerstaff. And Duren, this was crazy. He committed multiple fouls in the All-Star game. That's how hard he was playing. I'm like, Jalen Duren, I might have to buy your jersey. I really respected it. But then coming in at number 1, it was very clear. It was very obvious. It was an early statement that he wants to be the next face of the NBA. Victor Wembanyama. He called his shot. He was like, if they're not going to care, I'm going to care, and I'm going to embarrass them, because he's one of the 5 best players in the world. He's the best defensive player of the world, and it'd be really embarrassing if you kept getting your shot pinned against the backboard by a 7'7" alien who was playing at full speed during an All-Star game. He was mad at Karl Anthony Towns for switching off the three-point shooter. He set the tone early. He set the tone during the week to the media. It was a very worthy heir apparent to caring about the state of the game and the state of the NBA All-Star game. So we could talk Team USA versus the world, we could talk Elam ending, we could talk East-West, as long as the players give a little bit, not Game 7 bleep, just give a little bit of a bleep, everything's gonna be fine. As we bring in Antoine Walker, a 3-time All-Star, I understand the format discussion. I get it. Good job, played in short spurts, it worked. But to me, Twan, the problem with the last couple of years was it was just a half-court shooting contest and guys not running back on defense. A little bit of effort goes a long way in an All-Star game. Did you think it was a success?
I think it was a success. Judging off what we've had in the past, I would say 4 or 5 years to have a competitive game, even though they was in short spurts, like you said before. I thought it was great. And then you highlight your top 5 guys. Those guys were terrific. Those guys put on the show. I mean, I wouldn't probably go in that particular order that you went in, but I thought Anthony Edwards was great. Yeah. I thought Kawhi Leonard was terrific. To be the hometown guy in front of your fans, the performance he put on, I think was terrific. Wemby was, active and great, and obviously showing that he's an MVP candidate the season that San Antonio's having. So I thought it was great. I thought the guys played with a lot of energy and effort. And we need that. I mean, we need to get this game back to being very competitive. And this is something you look forward to, not just getting named to the All-Star team and that being it, but actually competing and making the weekend great.
Yeah, because I don't want to pretend like it was always like a playoff level atmosphere. It was, I remember Shaq going through the legs and shooting 3-pointers, Kobe and LeBron taking the jump ball at the start. Like, I'm all for alley-oops and dunk contests and showing off a little bit, but like the fourth quarter of those games that you played in, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the fourth quarter of those All-Star games that you played in had a level of intensity to them.
Yeah, and also, too, I'm going to be honest, the prize money was totally different. Guys used to go at it. I mean, that last, the winning team could, I think when my year, obviously we going way back, but it was like $50,000 to the winner, $25,000 to the loser. So it's a $25,000 difference. You start to play a little harder, see if you can win that game. It's a nice little bump, nice little bonus, for the weekend. So I think that plays a part as far as just being competitive about the game. I do like the fact, and I said this earlier, that the league did make it kind of Europeans versus the Americans. That brings a little twist to it. And it's because the Europeans have been so dominant. Think about the Joker's the MVP the last 3 years. Giannis was there. I mean, they probably won, I don't know, they won the last 5 out of 6 years, 5 out of 7. So they dominated the MVP. So I think the format was set up really good for the future.
All right, so Twan, All-Star Saturday night is a thing that, dunk contests in the past have been pretty historic. This was not that. You had Jaxson Hayes just doing this thing. You had Jace Richardson, falling down and hurting his head. That was a very scary moment. Thankfully, he got up and was okay. But I'm curious what your solve would be for the dunk contest and All-Star Saturday if you have one. Or do you want to just see it go away?
Well, I think you can do Saturday night. We probably have to figure out something with the dunk contest, honestly. It's so hard to try to duplicate these dunks, guys, to be really, really creative. We're spoiled as fans of the early dunk contests in the early years and seeing guys put on shows, whether it's the Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter's, Tracy McGrady's of the world that put on shows. You don't have those type of dunkers anymore. So I think we can go over there. I think the three-point contest is great because typically we get the best shooters in the three-point contest. And then some years you may pick a bum like me. They pick me and I get, 5 points or something like that. But
I wasn't going to bring it up. It was not, I looked it up before the show. It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
It wasn't great. But typically you get the best shooters. And, last few years watching Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those guys compete and shoot the ball at a very high level. It's fun to watch. Look at Damian Lillard, a guy who's sitting out with an ACL, but I'm pretty sure he's shooting every day. He was terrific. So I think you could keep the three-point contest. We may have to do away with the dunk contest and maybe come up with something else for Saturday night. I don't know what that will be, but we can they can be creative. They were creative this year as far as going European players versus American, so they can come up with something.
I'm glad you asked. I'm creative. I got 3 quick ideas for you. All right? You tell me if you like these ideas. Idea number 1 for the dunk contest: if you are on your rookie contract and you are healthy and you are asked, you have to participate.
I like it.
You cannot, Zion, right? Like whoever it was, like if Ja Morant, like you would have had to participate if we had. Now, if you're old and LeBron, you can opt out of it. But if you are on your rookie contract, you have to participate. Okay, 3-point contest. Steph already says he's in next year. Devin Booker says he's in. Damian Lillard's in. I like that they're getting. But what happened to the WNBA aspect of it? Sabrina Ionescu, Caitlin Clark, little battle of the sexes thing, get the shooting contest back. I think that was a great wrinkle for the 3-point contest.
I'm not against you. I like that too. I like that wrinkle. But if you get the best shooters, I think we get a good contest. I think if you continue to get the best shooters, that's something extra if you wanted to add that.
All right, I got one more for you. $5 million first prize, and we do the one-on-one tournament. The WNBA did it. $5 million on the line to the winner, one-on-one tournament. Wemby, Giannis, everybody. If you're an all-star, you have to participate if you're asked.
I love it. I love one-on-one basketball. I don't think everybody's a great one-on-one player, but I do like it, and especially if you're going to put the prize money up there, I think the competitive juices will come out. And then a lot of guys want to go one-on-one anyway against each other. So I think that could work. I actually like that. I think we might need to figure that one-on-one thing out.
That's what I'm saying. Get rid of the dunk contest for a couple years. Make us miss it. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. One-on-one tournament. Adam Silver, free idea for you. Me and everybody else have come up with it. Coming up, some unbelievable video from the weekend, some truly unbelievable sporting events. Michael Jordan got another championship. You're going the wrong direction down a mountain. It's a bad idea. Next on First Things First. Time now for a little edition of Weird and Wonderful on loan from Kevin Wild. So these are the best videos from the weekend. And honestly, not just being a company man here, Willie. Fox had some great events. Seriously, the guys did an incredible job doing the show from the Daytona 500. It was dramatic down to the end. Tyler Reddick wins the Daytona 500. And he will, by the way, be in studio with us tomorrow. Oh, wow. Which is very exciting. Big. And I might have to ask him a few questions about my favorite athlete of all time, Michael Jordan, who got another win. And he was mocked on this very show on Nick Wright's Most to Lose because, he had all these things to lose, and this a reputation, and that a reputation. I saw what you did, Nick. It wasn't nice. And I think Michael Jordan might have seen it too, because when he won the Daytona 500, he recreated the pose with the trophy from when he was with the team.
Look at that.
And he was genuinely thrilled. I was happy for Mike.
He's been going through a lot, but I think overall, man, when you talk about adding one to the trophy case, I never expected this one from Michael Jordan. I mean,
he loves it.
It's a big trophy he had to hold up there.
I mean, his fishing team wins, his golf course is great, and now he has his beloved Daytona 500
Good
trophy.
for Mike.
So congratulations to him. From the wonderful to the weird, the Olympics are always incredible. The dual moguls is insane. From planes, trains, and automobile, you're going the wrong direction. Finished backwards.
I know, that's talent. I just think about my ACLs would have been snapped. There's no way I could have survived that.
Yeah, you think? You think? I don't think that would have worked out so hot for you.
But it's worth trying, right? Can we say that at least?
Well, so that's actually an excellent question. Like, is that the first time they've skied down backwards? Probably not.
I don't think there's footage, right?
right. There's probably not footage, but like the first time it happens, it's in the Olympics. You go down, like, oh, something's gone terribly wrong. But then you look to your left and you're like,
credit not panicking either.
Yeah, well,
it takes a lot of marbles to hang in there.
Yeah, no panic, but also like when you're going backwards, you got to assume it's been a disaster, and then you look to your left and you're like,
still in it.
I won. I won.
I know.
Dual moguls is insane. Like single moguls wasn't crazy enough.
Dual's a thing.
You had to add another person to collapse.
Spice it up sometime.
It's crazy.
Like me and you.
We're still doing OT. Live from New York, it's First Things First overtime. Tyreek Hill is available to go to any team he wants. Is a reunion in Kansas City inevitable for the 32-year-old coming off of significant knee surgery? Also, Josh Allen might need a wide receiver one, and one of the top NFL writers has proposed a blockbuster. We'll weigh in on if that's enough to get the Bills over the hump, if it happens. And I didn't even have to go to any extra schooling to become a doctor. Biggest fix for the Eagles, Dr. Danny diagnoses the problems with the entire NFC East. You think I could have been a doctor? I'm afraid of blood. So probably not. But we begin with my beloved NBA.
Welcome to Sephora. I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey.
I got you. Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket.
And a sports guilty pleasure of mine, which is NBA All-Star Weekend. And you could not tell by the final score of the final game, 47-21, stars over stripes, by the way. That was a very highly competitive, by All-Star game standards, festivity last night. The guys, pretty much universally, spoke to both the intensity and the format contributing to the better product. Take a listen.
I ain't gonna lie, Wemby set the tone. Like, he came out playing hard, so it's hard not to match that. So that's what happened.
It's a game we love, you know. It's a game I personally cherish. So being competitive is the least I can do.
It's for you guys to enjoy and, you know, for us to come out and compete and have fun too. So, you know, if the format is making us play well, then we could keep going.
I like this format. I think it makes us compete because it's only 12 minutes, and the 3 different teams, you separate the guys, and I think it was really good.
All right, Willie. The guys seemed to like it. The product, 3 of the 4 games anyway, was highly competitive. Did you like the new format? Did it fix this thing?
I did like it. I thought the game finally looked like legit competition, not an open run out of LA Fitness, right? Like it felt like we were watching the best of the best come out and play hard. And then, think about it too, DP, and I'm going to take a breath. It wasn't just the format. It was the fact that these guys took pride in the game.
That's what I thought.
You know what I mean? Like it's different to sit here and say, yeah, the 12 minutes, the 3 teams, the young versus the world, the elders versus the world. Like it's good to acknowledge all that. But it took a young Frenchman in Wemby to say, you know what? We get paid a lot of money to play this game. We get paid a lot of money to live an elite lifestyle. The least we can do is show up for 12 minutes and put on a show. And I'm glad it took Anthony Edwards, who I think is the face of the league, to show up and say, you know what, I'll match you one. Because that is the point. I think me and you talked about it. When we were kids, we ran to the TV to see All-Star Weekend, right? We knew what the game meant, the level of intensity, the best versus the best, and we got a show, and we walked away, we went to bed that night with smiles on our face. For years, we haven't had that smile. Now I think for NBA fans to diehards to casuals, say, you know what, we got something here. And I hope they don't change the format, by the way. I like the format. I think it allows all the guys who are lightly invested to highly invested be able to show up and play. But overall, I thought it was a win for the NBA, and I'm glad it finally happened. I'm just sad that it took Wemby to set the tone. I would have loved to see Kawhi or Ant-Man step up and say, hey, you know what? It's time for us to show up and deliver.
Yeah, listen, I think that the criticism was deserved because the last couple of years were embarrassing. And it does not need to be Game 7 of the NBA Finals level of intensity. It does not even need to be regular season level of intensity. I'm fine with, Shaq shooting a 3-pointer or going through between the legs. Like it's an exhibition. That type of thing is fine, and that is baked into the history of the NBA All-Star Game. It is a showcase, but it used to be. But then in the fourth quarter, a real game would break out. It would be a real game would break out, right? And they had gotten away from that. And I think that the format and the short spurts contributed to it. But I think, and Anthony Edwards spoke to it, and you just referenced it too.
Yes.
Victor Wembanyama is a worthy face of the league. He basically called out all of his peers in the lead up to this game and was like, I'm going to try. And if you guys don't try,
I'm going to bully all of you.
And it's
everybody going to get it.
Well, and it's going to be noticeable.
Yeah.
Because if the 7-7 dude is trying and everyone else is trying to throw alley-oops or do behind-the-back, junk passes and not run back, he's already a top 5 player in the sport, and he's a one-of-one physical talent in the sport. He was going to embarrass those guys. So the 12-minute spurts thing and the Team USA versus the world, that novelty, I'm sure that contributed to it a bit.
Well, it matters, don't you think? Because listen, if you don't go out and play and a European player comes out and embarrasses you on American soil,
sure.
That to me stings worse than not showing up.
But
right? That's a lack of patriotism. That's like, I think it's a knock.
No, and listen, and I do think that it fit. It was the first time the All-Star Game was back on NBC, and it was during the day and not in prime time, and it was.
Well, that's because of the Olympics.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, and it's leading into the Olympics. So I think the Team USA versus the world thing also just kind of fit with the promos for the Olympics and everything that was going on. But I honestly think that if it was an old school East-West game, and Wembanyama would have done the same thing. If he would have called everybody out ahead of time
I agree with that.
and played really hard, I think the game would have been an appropriate level of competitiveness because to me, the solve here is not format. It is simply effort. With all of it, like if in the dunk contest, the guys were like, wait a minute, Michael Jordan did it, Vince Carter did it, Kobe Bryant did it. It's okay if we miss a dunk or fall or whatever, but it's because for the good of the game, to participate, to show a little effort, to grow the game. I do think that would help the All-Star game. And we saw it yesterday, man. Victor Wembanyama called out his peers, and they played hard, and it was a good product.
Just to bump it up a notch, I also thought it was important because KD, before the game, came out and called out and said, hey, man, I watched previous All-Star games, going back to the 60s.
Which I loved.
There was no level of intensity. These guys just showed up. And then we're like, I don't know about that. Because me and you were saying here, as a kid, we recognize that. And then when you see this game, you're saying that, KD, I think you're wrong here. When you show up and compete and you do it on a world stage, it makes a better product. So you should want to show up, not just for the format, for the pride, and because you get paid a boatload of money to be him when the lights are on.
Well, and I'm glad you brought it up from KD, because KD is a hooper and he is a student of the game, and I believe him that he went back and watched All-Star games.
I don't.
Okay, fair
Who's
enough.
going back and watched 1960 NBA All-Star games?
Well, I don't know about 1960, but
70s.
I bet you he watched clips, and whether he did or not, what he said, because he did say that pregame or in the Saturday press conference, but after the game, he did say that he thought the intensity was up. You know what I mean? And so whatever the reason was, KD's participated in a lot of All-Star games. He knows that this one was different than last year. And by the way, again, I was there. We're not that far removed. The 2020 All-Star game was great. It was in Chicago. It was right after Kobe Bryant had passed away. Mm-hmm. They immediately named the All-Star Game MVP trophy after Kobe Bryant. They did the Elam ending where they had the target score. It was great. It was competitive. It came right down to the end. There was a lot. It was, it ended on a free throw, which was a little bit of a bummer. But it really was a great All-Star. So we're not that far removed from the product being what it should be. It just became a jump shooting contest for the last couple of years, and by the way, Jokic was not playing hard. He looked like he could have fit in.
He's also been injured. He's protecting his knee. Luka's been out dealing with injuries, so I understand those two.
It doesn't have to be Game 7, but even Kevin Durant after the game acknowledged that the intensity had stepped up a little.
Yeah, when you go on a 6-year drought of quality All-Star game, I mean, there's some concern there. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you're also looking, and it's interesting because I thought KD in past was like, well, you yell at us for not playing hard, but look at Luka, look at a Joker. Why aren't you calling those guys out?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because this is an American game, right? You represent America. You're an American soil. You are the face of the league. You know what makes you the face of the league? When you go to Houston and people come out to watch you play, or when you land in Denver, people come out and watch you play. When you warrant that type of attention, people want to see a different level of brand of basketball than what they've seen out of regular people.
Yeah, well, listen, they're certainly not regular people. They are amazing.
People, I apologize.
No, I understand. No, they're the 1% of the 1% in terms of athletes. It's not pejorative. It is the fact, and it is an entertainment product, and we've got a lot of options for. That it was bumped out of primetime because they were like, it's the Olympics. But that event yesterday was actually worthy of primetime. And if they gave us that level of intensity for All-Star weekends going forward, I would be a satisfied customer as a long time fan.
It's just tough to have a conversation about effort. That's what we're talking about right now.
I understand.
We're talking about effort.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. Just care. just care a little bit for some of the time, and you're so talented.
For 12 minutes, we're congratulating.
It's a low bar.
Yeah.
But they cleared it. To the issue that I thought was the dominant story of the week leading into All-Star Weekend, and frankly, if you watched Adam Silver's press conference, All-Star Weekend itself, because the commissioner. First question at the press conference was about tanking. Many follow-up questions were about tanking. And Adam Silver did not seem too happy about the state of tanking in the NBA, given that these questions were happening before Valentine's Day. Take a listen to the commissioner.
I think what we're seeing is modern analytics where it's so clear that the incentives are misaligned. I think maybe to further answer your question, are we seeing behavior that is worse this year than we've seen in recent memory? Yes, is my view, and which was what led to those fines, and not just those fines, but to my statement that we're going to be looking more closely at the totality of all the circumstances this season in terms of teams' behavior.
All right, so Willie, I'm going to take this one, and I want you to react, because the question is going to be about fixing tanking in the NBA. I loved Adam Silver's tone. I thought he was clearly upset. I hated the fine because fines mean nothing. These teams have unlimited money. They print unlimited money.
Gotta do something, DP.
No, I know.
You saying be harsher?
Way harsher.
Okay.
Way harsher. You have to say, okay, you cannot pick it. If you pick in the top 4 of this year's draft, you cannot pick in the top 4 of next year's draft. Major League Baseball has that sort of thing already in place. The White Sox a couple years ago had the worst record. They couldn't pick until I think the 10th or 11th pick in the draft. So you put in protections like that. You can limit pick protections on trades. Like if the Jazz fall outside of the top 8, their pick goes to Oklahoma City, so that incentivizes them to be worse. You can get rid of those in trades. And then you can start really talking about, we're going to take away your draft pick. Or we are going to say, there is no draft. Or every team that misses the play, every team in the top 10 has the same odds to get the best player. Like, you have to, and Adam Silver said, everything is on the table. And I think it's an integrity of the game issue, because these teams, it is smart for them to tank as the rules are currently constituted and as are the penalties that are currently constituted. Because if, say the Jazz got fined $4 million, $5 million, if they get Darren Peterson and Darren Peterson turns out to be Kobe Bryant, it was worth it. So you have to actually disincentivize the tank, whether through rules changes or draft overhaul. Whichever one you want, I'm fine with either. But I finally thought that Adam Silver in that press conference, his tone met the severity of the issue facing the game. I do think it is an integrity of the game issue that we're talking about.
Let me ask you this. If you punish too hard, do you trap bad teams into mediocrity?
It's a great question, because like if you eliminated the draft and you said it's a rookie pool and you could slot money.
You're punishing the underclass at that point.
Well, right, like, would a player ever choose Utah? No. Right, like that's the question. And people say, well, what about in the NFL? Like, it's different in the NFL because you could only have one quarterback. So, like, if Green Bay needs a quarterback and the contracts aren't guaranteed, you'd go play in Green Bay because they could give you a chance to play quarterback. So, like, would a player ever choose Utah in that scenario? Maybe not. So maybe that's what ultimately stops it. But if you cannot have a world.
But you can't get rid of tanking, though. Like, tanking is never going to stop. Like, I think you can, like, the incentives matter. I think that's what you're trying to eliminate. Like, you got to punish hard.
You cannot have a world where the Utah Jazz trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. He is healthy. He's playing with Lauri Markkanen, and you have two all-star caliber players, and then they are sitting them in the fourth quarter of games in the regular season with 3 months to play. It's just an embarrassment.
But his issue was different. Like, he was due knee surgery, right? They played him, and then they were like, "Hey, man, we got to preserve you a little bit because we got to get you ready for surgery."
Then why are they sitting Lauri Markkanen?
There was a plan in place for him.
But then why are they sitting Lauri Markkanen in the fourth quarter? They're trying to lose. They are unapologetically trying to lose and again, as the rules currently are constituted, it is smart. Because if you add Darren Peterson or Boozer or DeBansta to that core, Utah is all of a sudden scary, and if they fall outside of the top 8, they lose their first round pick entirely. So I don't blame the players, the coaches, or the GMs. This is squarely a league issue. Commissioners' jobs are to protect the sport, right? The team.
The integrity, that's what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, but like, listen, this is a baseball analogy, but you're a baseball fan, you'll follow it. I used to work in Chicago. I would cover Theo Epstein and the Cubs. I had a good relationship with him. He came on my radio show all the time. And then when he left and he became a consultant with Major League Baseball, he did an interview on the show. And I was like, how do you square that when you were running the Cubs, your job was like, hit more home runs, take more walks, strikeouts aren't bad, all that sort of, and then you go to Major League Baseball and you're like, that made the game boring. And then he was like, pitch clock, you know, 3-batter minimum, bigger bases for more steals. And he was like, because when I was with the Cubs, my job was to exploit the rules. When I worked for
loopholes.
When I worked for Major League Baseball, my job is to close those loopholes, to make the game better. So Adam Silver needs to fix it. He needs to make it so that the Jazz cannot sit these players.
Well, I think the one punishment we've come to understand is I think draft picks matter because that's ultimately what you're fighting for, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think about the Wizards right now. You got Trae Young, you got Anthony Davis. Both of those guys are sitting to next year, right? Valid, they're dealing with some injuries.
If those injuries are real and they sit the if they sit the entire year, it is an embarrassment.
But that's my point.
I know.
So if you're looking at Anthony Davis, he has a finger. You know, Trae's
Trae, of course.
Trae's serious.
No doubt. But the Wizards have said that they expect both of those guys to play the rest of the year. My NBA cynicism on that issue is
it's not happening.
They won't.
Wizards are 15th in the Eastern Conference right now. They're not playing.
And again, for the team, tanking is smart. For the league, tanking is a disaster. And that press conference gave me a little bit of optimism that Adam Silver is ready to get his David Stern
Tone
on.
means nothing. Action means everything.
No, I know. But get his David Stern on and start actually enforcing some of this stuff. The rules are already there on the books. All right, let's get to the NFL. A big news today, not unexpected, but still, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Tyreek Hill is available. He's released. They also got rid of Bradley Chubb, so the Dolphins entering on full-on rebuild mode right now. But everyone is going to be connecting the dots, Willie, of Tyreek Hill returning to Kansas City. He has on multiple times on social media, I need to go home. People are like, does that mean Atlanta? Does that mean Kansas City? People thought it meant Kansas City, but that was, back in November. Then when the Chiefs hired Eric Bieniemy, he tweeted out, EB to the Chiefs. So Tyreek Hill has been keeping very close tabs on the place where he won a Super Bowl and really cemented his Hall of Fame candidacy. Do you see a Hill-Mahomes reunion in Kansas City happening?
I don't. I think from a cap standpoint, I don't think they can afford it. Nevertheless, man, you're talking about a 32-year-old receiver who's coming off a knee injury, a catastrophic one at that.
Right. It's not. We shouldn't loop it in with Mahomes's, right? Because it's
right. It's not.
Mahomes is a straight ACL. This is a dislocated knee plus multiple ligaments.
Paint it however you want. His superpower is speed.
Right.
And so the reason you will want him back is because you think he still has the speed and the ability to threaten defenses on the back end. Nevertheless, man, as you continue to look at Tyreek Hill rejoining the Chiefs, their issue, valid, may be deficient at the receiving core because you're losing Marquise Brown, Schuster that may not be there. But the run game is being a big issue for the Chiefs. When the Chiefs were great, the light show is when they had a run game and they could pound the rock between the 20s and they execute at the red zone, in the red zone. They struggled last year in both departments. So, valid, you may want Tyreek Hill, but you're also looking at a guy right now, and you can correct me. How did he leave that locker room with Miami? Wasn't on good terms, right? Like so you talk about
Andy Reid does not care about that.
But you should. Right?
Okay, but I mean,
because you don't.
Andy Reid has decades of, he will bring in a guy who might be a bit of a distraction, who might say the wrong thing, who might do the wrong thing.
But as somebody who covered the Chiefs,
this
is the last thing you need. A guy who.
I don't know. Listen. I expect it to happen. Why? Because I don't think he's going to be that expensive. Personally, I don't. It'll be very interesting to see. Because there are legitimate questions, to your point, on how has Tyreek Hill, who is going to be 32, coming off of this devastating knee injury, is he going to be able to play? And is he going to be able to play at a high level? So he is not going to get, in my opinion, a massive multi-year guaranteed contract that is a marriage. You know NFL contracts. If these are
they can break it down a million ways.
And these are one-way. These are often one-way deals unless you are a true superstar. So if Tyreek Hill is signing an incentive-laden contract where you get paid if you produce, my gut tells me that he would think Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, I can produce. So if I'm the Chiefs and that's the type of contract, I do it, but I am not at all interested in Tyreek Hill being the savior for my offense. Tyreek Hill needs to be one of multiple things.
Tyreek Hill is not going to the Chiefs to be receiver number 2. It's just not happening. I understand. The bottom line is we're saying the same thing. The knee is the issue. And will we get the same cheetah that once wore the red and white? What I'm sitting here saying, if you're the Chiefs going into the offseason, I got to look at this as, hey, how can I get Travis Kelce back in the building? How can I keep him there? 2, what's going to happen to this defense that's going to need some restructuring?
They need
3
pass rush,
would be the receiving core. Outside of that, I don't see him as a number 1 need for the Chiefs moving into the offseason.
Yeah, so I don't think we're as far apart on this as it sounds. I think that Tyreek Hill, all of those things could, if they use the 9th pick on a pass rusher and they sign an offensive lineman, when they restructure Trey Smith's deal and Chris Jones's deal and Patrick Mahomes' deal, and then they sign Tyreek Hill to an incentive-laden 1 or 2 year contract, they're not looking at him as being the savior, and I don't think he will be a number 1. Rashee Rice would be expected to be the number 1, and Tyreek Hill would be expected to be the number 2. But Tyreek Hill, it's basically it's a high upside, low risk, high reward play. Because if Tyreek Hill does come back from the injury, he's a very special player. You just don't seem to think that there's any chance that he comes back.
I think we haven't seen him and Patrick Mahomes on the same field. That connection and chemistry matters. And I think you're talking about a quarterback coming off a knee injury in himself who's going to take time, and we don't know what's his plan to return. We don't know when he's coming back. He's
shooting for week one.
We planning for week one, but things happen. So nevertheless, you're talking about two guys who we don't know if he lands in Kansas City, when they will actually be on the field together. So I think a lot matters when you bring him into the building. And listen, for me, I like to buy my cars with no lemons. I don't want a lemon, right? I want a guy who's ready to go, fresh off the line.
Fresh off the
That's
line.
nice.
I've bought a lot of used cars, and a lot of lemons in my day. But I mean, again, Tyreek Hill, 1-year deal, incentives, and I'm a sucker for getting the band back together.
You are.
I love those. The Blues Brothers is a great movie. We're getting the band back.
Yeah, you
together.
kiss family photos. Yeah.
Okay. I told you that in confidence. It's time now for a little edition of Dr. Danny. I didn't even have to go to any extra schooling to get my MD, where I put on my stethoscope to show my medical expertise and provide a cure for the ailments of every NFL team heading into the season. By the end of this week, we will go through every division, Willie Colon, but we begin in the NFC East. All right, and like a good doctor, I got all my patients' charts right here, and I got my stethoscope, so we begin with the New York Giants. They got some issues. Man, I don't even know how you walked in here. Well, the first thing I would say, see, stethoscope, chart, you get it. They have a misallocation of resources, is what I would say. So my diagnosis would be, take some of the issues and your resources from the defensive side of the ball and move them to the offensive side of the ball. Because you have to figure out whether or not that man in the graphic right there, Jaxson Dart, is the guy. And so if you just show what they have in terms of money spent on defense versus money spent on offense, most money on the defensive side of the ball versus 29th in the NFL. If you are trying to develop Jaxson Dart, that doesn't make any sense. So I would use your top 5 pick on offense. I would maybe trade Thibodeau, because you've got Burns and you've got Lawrence and you've got Abdul Carter. Like, you've got a lot of front seven talent. Free up some of that money, reallocate your resources to the offensive side of the ball, right side of the offensive line, a second weapon, whatever you can do, but you need to spend more money on offense so you can see if Jaxson Dart is the guy going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the right side of that offensive line. You talk about that right tackle and Greg Van Varden. Both guys are going to be free agents. If you really think Jaxson Dart is him, you're going to have to protect him. You got to find some guys in the draft, some big uglies up front that can keep him upright so you can develop well.
Well, and they're not going to, what you don't want to do, the worst case scenario is you come out of this year and you feel like you don't have an answer on Jaxson Dart, but it's not because of Jaxson Dart.
Because they'll have pieces around.
It's like, oh man, he got sacked 48 times. He got another concussion. He missed 6 games. If you come out of this year and Jaxson Dart's the man, massive success. If you come out of this year and Jaxson Dart is not the man, not great. But at least you have an answer. Yeah, the worst thing would be uncertainty.
But I also think some of this is on Jaxson Dart. He's going to have to realize, running out of bounds helps, right? Like not taking the necessary shots, maturing at the position is going to keep his longevity, promote his longevity in the NFL. So I like him. For me, offensive line 1, receiving 2. They'll be my priority.
That was in my chart.
Okay.
A lot of hits to the head
a lot.
On Jaxson Dart. All right, our next patient here for Dr. Danny is the Washington Commanders. To me, this one is interesting. Trade back. You got a lot of issues. This is a laundry list of issues that
Your doctor actually walked in the room. You got a lot going on.
Geez, this is a problem. But and I can't solve all of the issues with one knee surgery or with one Band-Aid. But you've got a couple of picks in the first 4 rounds. If we could show people here what I have to work with, that's not penicillin and a Band-Aid.
You need more.
You need more. So you have given up your 2nd and your 4th round pick in the Laramie Tunsil trade. So to me, you got to trade back from number 7 and get more assets. Because look at all of the issues. I mean, points per game, 22nd, middle of the pack in sacks, bottom 3rd in yards, dead last in opponent yard per game. Because the defensive line hasn't really recovered from losing Sweat and Chase Young, the pass rushers there. Their back 7 was a problem. Obviously, the Jaden Daniels injury, you hope he comes back. But just They had so many problems. They don't have enough draft picks to solve all of the problems. So I think you got to trade back from number 7.
Yeah, they've tried to survive without elite pass rush on the edge. They have no edge rushers. It's been a bugaboo for them for so long. I think right now, if you go into this draft, you got to find somebody, or at least a couple edge rushers that you can grow, and hopefully they can get home. Because right now, as much as you want to protect Jaden Daniels, as much as you want to get, figure out what you can do offensively, they don't have a defense, right? And this is a division that prides themselves on defense. So
and a head coach.
And a head coach. That's why DQ was there.
So every mock draft is going to have Bain, the kid from Miami, if he's there, going to Washington. And I'm not saying it's not a great fit. And if you think he's Von Miller, fine, go ahead and take him because if he solves all of your pass rush in one pick. But when you look at that team and it's like, okay, you've got Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal, you need players. Like you have a lot more. They're not one player away from being consistently great, even though they are 1 year removed from being in the NFC Championship game. So to me, it's like you want to have more darts to throw at the dartboard.
And let's be honest, they've lost some people on their coaching staff that play big roles, right? Like they've had to bump up some assistants. There's been some turnover behind the curtain, so that's going to be another issue because Kingsbury, people forget about, he was everything for Daniels. So if he's not back or wherever he lands, man, you worry about his development on top of his injuries on top of that.
Are you buying me as a doctor?
So far.
Okay. Great. Well, again, I have a stethoscope.
There's no warm, you don't ease into it.
No, I don't have a lot of bedside manner.
There's nothing like, hey, your hair looks great.
I've been told I have a tone issue. That was by my wife, but and the comments.
Well, she matters. So.
Yeah, she does. All right, next patient to enter Dr. Danny's office, more of an office than an offense, is the Dallas Cowboys. And this one is pretty straightforward. You have to hit on defense in the draft. Like, your offense should be excellent. If you're going to give George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, like if Pickens is going to take the franchise tag and you paid CeeDee Lamb that money and you paid Dak Prescott that money and you've got an offensive head coach, and you've drafted all your Tylers on the offensive line, you drafted all your Tylers. You drafted Tylers on the offensive line. You have invested on offense. You now have an extra first-round pick. You have the 12th pick and the 20th pick in the draft. Quite simply, your defense was the reason you lost games. If we put up what the numbers are, as I'm looking at it here on the chart, in the 9 losses, it was like no offense can overcome giving up a 20-3 touchdown to interception ratio. We can get to Jalen Hurts here in a minute. Just the Cowboys defense part for now. You need to hit, if you draft the 12th pick and the 20th pick. I know Cowboys fans want Caleb Downs. My guess is he's not going to be there outside of the top 10, but we'll see. But if you just do what the Rams did a couple of years ago with Fisk and Verse, and you hit on 2 rookies in the top 20 on the defensive side of the ball, that can change your defensive identity in one draft. So I think you just go defense and you hit in the draft and you'll be fine.
I agree you go defense, but please don't laugh at me. If I'm the Cowboys, you sell your soul, you go get Myles Garrett. You figure out how you can trade for Myles Garrett.
You'd give up the 12th and 20th pick?
I will give up the 12th, the 20th, Jerry's jet, and all expense paid to Cabo.
Yeah.
I would throw in instant access around my home. Whatever I got to do to get Myles Garrett in the building, I'm going to get Myles Garrett. You put him on this defensive line, this team. The Cowboys are legit a playoff team.
All right, so I got to pick up the chart again. Where does it say in the handbook or in the medical journals, trade 25-year-old Myles Garrett equivalent of Micah Parsons
I'm sorry.
in order to give up all of that draft capital to get 31?
How many sacks did Myles Garrett get last year?
He had the record. He had the most ever.
Has he not been the most dominant defensive player in this generation?
He has been.
Right.
But you had the second or third most dominant, and you traded him away, and Micah Parsons.
Things happen, right?
Okay.
Sometimes house fires aren't always your fault.
That would be very Cowboy to trade away Micah Parsons and then give up even more to go get older Myles Garrett.
Not older Myles Garrett, the number 1 edge rusher in the game. There's a difference.
Well, both are true.
Right.
He is the number 1 edge rusher in the game, and he is older than Micah Parsons. Both of those things are true.
Who's coming off an injury?
Yeah, Mike is.
Right. So who's healthy?
Myles Garrett.
Right. And who can elevate your defensive line?
Do you want the stethoscope?
You might as well hand it over.
Okay.
Now.
Let's get to the team that was in first place in the NFC East, but we talked about them like they were the worst team in the NFL. If I am the Eagles, doctor diagnosing the problems with the Eagles, I am figuring out what I can do to get Super Bowl Jalen Hurts to show up with any degree of consistency in the regular season. Sean Mannion might have the toughest job in the NFL because he's the Jalen Hurts' 10th play caller in 10 years, and he's their new offensive coordinator. And when you are the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, you either get fired, like Kevin Patullo, or you get head coaching jobs, like Shane Steichen, or Doug Peterson, right? It goes both directions.
Right.
You either get fired or you get a head coaching job because there is so much talent there. And if we look at what Jalen Hurts has done, these numbers are almost unbelievable. It's like when you take cholesterol levels and you're like, what? On intermediate passes, when you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, you completed 55% of your passes in the middle of the field with 2 interceptions against 3 touchdowns. The only quarterbacks with fewer passing touchdowns in that range, Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler, and Cam Ward.
It's a hard list.
$240 million Super Bowl MVP with a top 5 wide receiver duo in the game. Your numbers don't make any sense. So you have to figure out how you get playoff Jalen Hurts to show up in the regular season.
Yeah, when you have a problem with the body, a good place to start is check the heart, right? The heart of that team is their offensive line. Lane Johnson is a 36-year-old aging right tackle. You talk about Juergens coming off multiple surgeries. What hurt this team this year wasn't the lack of talent. It was some of their offensive line was battered and bruised. It was a patchwork.
And that guy wasn't making throws.
Yeah, but the reason why we look at Jalen Hurts, we would question his ability now is because he never felt comfortable in the pocket, right? There was never times where he could sit back there and dissect defense. There was oftentimes you saw him really either step up, scramble, or defenses were speeding up his progression. They didn't have a run game to kind of settle him in. We looked at all the playoff teams that went the distance. Seattle, what was the number one stabilizer? A run game, right? You talk about Chicago, what was their stabilizer? A run game. You know what helps a run game? An offensive line that can help you run the ball. The Eagles didn't have it. That was their bridge to the Super Bowl. A dominant offensive line.
There's no question that is true.
Barkley.
There's no question that is true. Their offensive line was the best in football. Saquon Barkley was the best in football. But when you give Jalen Hurts that contract, and he is at this stage of his career, and he has played that well in multiple Super Bowls, man, the expectation is that he makes that throw. You got it. Those misses and that level of a lack of production on the easy stuff. We talked about it all year.
Yes, we did.
It was
the topic.
It was there.
But we didn't. But Jalen Hurts was at his best when he had an offensive line to protect him.
There's no question.
You saw his mechanics and everything start to unhinge where he didn't trust the guys in front of him. That happens with any quarterback. So now you're talking about, I understand the price tag on his head, but he's still a ball player, right? When you don't trust the guys in front of you and you're getting extra noise from the outside and your alpha receiver, it makes life hard as an Eagles quarterback. So one way to quiet that noise, get some protection.
You're welcome. Solved all the problems of the NFC East. By the end of the week, I'll diagnose everything. I could be a general manager for all 32 teams and a team doctor. Man, that is extra school. My premiums, though, are very high. I'm very
working on your tone. You scared some people.
My tone has been an issue. Welcome back to the OT. In his latest column, Bill Barnwell proposed a lot of trades, and he had one that really piqued my curiosity here. Basically, he said the Bills could acquire a number 1 receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jacksonville Jaguars for Keon Coleman, who you remember was a main character in the end-of-season press conference for the Bills, and the Bills would have to throw in their first-round pick, which this year sits at 26th overall. Willie, would you like this for Josh Allen and the Bills and believe that Brian Thomas Jr. would get them over the hump, but they'd have to part ways with a first-round pick in order to do it?
No, I don't. It feels impulsive. I'm not ready to give up on Keenan Coleman. He's a young guy, right? And some guys have to mature, and obviously we don't know the whole story. We just realized he wasn't available when they need him most, so I get that. And I also understand the Bills need to stop being two-dimensional and grow to be three-dimensional with somebody who can blow the top off of defense and take some of the pressure off Josh Allen's shoulders. But I think if you want to maximize the window of Josh Allen in his prime, you don't go get a B receiver, right? You go get somebody who's a legit playmaker, a game wrecker. Brian Thomas Jr., to my understanding, is not it, right? I don't think he is. I think Keon Coleman has the ability to be one day, and I think you just have to continue to allow him to grow. So I don't agree with the trade. I understand the purpose and the context of it, but I think you stay faithful to Coleman.
So the reason that this is being discussed is since Stephon Diggs left Buffalo, the Bills have not gotten enough production from their wide receivers. This is just apparent across the data. Last 2 years, their receivers, those are their NFL ranks on the side. They have not been good enough. And Brian Thomas Jr., even with his down year last year, drastically outperformed any receiver in Buffalo. Brian Thomas Jr., to your point, his rookie year, yeah, he had some bobbles, he had some drops, but he produced.
Sure.
He was 87 catches, nearly 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Last year, in Liam Cohn's first year in Jacksonville, it was really weird because Trevor Lawrence had a great year, Travis Etienne had a great year. Right. The offense actually got a lot better when they added and acquired Jacoby Myers in the middle of the year. Parker Washington it was like, why are all of these guys eating, but Brian Thomas Jr. had 48 catches for 700 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I thought it was a pretty creative, basically, if Buffalo has to say, if they think that rookie year Brian Thomas is the real Brian Thomas, and last year, for whatever reason, It wasn't a fit with Liam Cohen, then I think this would be a steal for Buffalo because Brian Thomas Jr. is still cheap, right? He's a third-year player. So, but you have to do an honest evaluation of which is the real Brian Thomas, his rookie year or his second year.
Right, and we, as you just mentioned, the Bills don't have a great track record at valuing receivers, right? Because you talk about Stephon Diggs. I thought when they let go of Gabe Davis, I thought that was a big blow to them as well. I thought they should have kept Gabe Davis. Nevertheless, man, your tape doesn't lie. When you turn on the Jags tape and you watch Brian Thomas, he's dropping a lot of balls.
There's not a lot of clean catches.
Right,
It's a lot of bobbles.
If you're looking at Josh Allen or you're looking to add to this offense, you need somebody who's an instant number one. Like, listen, I know this is hard to yell out there, but if you say you're going to get a Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen has tape of him catching balls. He can't stay healthy.
He's old.
But he's somebody I'm saying, okay, that makes sense to me because his tape gives me that type of feeling. He can still catch. He can be a producer, especially on third down. I'm not a fan of it. I think you stay true to Coleman because you got to allow. Let me say this. I didn't feel like I was a ball player to year 4, right? In an offense that I knew, guys that I had played with, I had matured, and I understood my role. You got to allow him the same time. I don't think we kind of bask in this world where everything has to be microwavable, right? Put him in, let him cook, let's eat. It's not always like that. This kid played at Florida State. You ship him to Orchard Park, Buffalo, right? You don't think that's a transition? So I think let's slow the roll and see what happens to the kid next year.
Yeah, and listen, if you can. Like Alec Pierce, he'll fit on any team, but if you can just get Alec Pierce for free agent money, keep developing Keon Coleman, then use that pick, the 26th pick on defense. That's another way to go about it as well. All right, want to talk here about A.J. Brown from one receiver story to another. Listen, man, Jason Kelce.
It's exhausting, DP.
Hey, well, you know what? That's why they pay you the big bucks. Jason Kelce went on WIP in Philly, and I thought he really distilled the A.J. Brown situation pretty succinctly. Take a listen to the Eagles legend.
It's incredibly frustrating, right? I think any player that's out there when you're seeing a teammate not go all out, that's all you want from your teammates. And that's all we want as fans. And it's a really hard thing to optically watch. I think part of it is that he's a great player and, teammates want him there and know that he can be a dominating force for them. But, those frustrations, he's just the unfortunate player who allows his internal frustrations to manifest into his play. And it makes him play worse, it makes the offense worse, and it makes his energy worse.
I feel like all of you guys would get frustrated, but do you allow the frustrations to carry over on the field? It was a good way to put it by Kelce there. What would you do if you were Howie Roseman and you're running the Eagles with A.J. Brown this offseason?
Well, first of all, I would only trade him if I got something monster in return, like a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett, how I mentioned before. You would never let go of that type of bully receiver, alpha one receiver, unless you got something, of that magnitude back. Nevertheless, man, this is who A.J. Brown is, right? He's never going to change. It doesn't matter how many times you call him to the principal office. Doesn't matter how many times you call him out on social media.
Yeah, remember he had that thing where the story was like, Big Dom pulled him aside at practice. He met with the owner. They promised no more social media. Yeah.
But this is who he is, and I don't blame him for being frustrated because we've been on this ride with him for the last 2 years with success, and now we've seen him not have success last year. But he's the edge for the Philadelphia Eagles on offense, right? Like when you wrap your identity around being bullies, he's the bully at that position. I love Smitty. But Smitty's not him, right? Like, he's a big-body receiver who can catch the ball in traffic, who's a threat to the secondary.
Devontae Smith is great,
It's
but
phenomenal.
he's not A.J. Brown.
He's not A.J. Brown. I think a lot of the woes aren't with him. It's his frustration that we look at Jalen Hurts and we've looked at this offense, and mind you, this comes from multiple sources. The offense is stale, predictable, and stagnant. And he's watching it, and he's in the film room, and he's saying, hey, man, on 3rd and down, when there's a hot, I'm the guy you go to, I'm not getting the ball, right? And so I'm not mad at his gripes, and I'm not mad at that he's vocal about it. What I would tell him is, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, it is what it is. Like, this is an in-house problem. If it's going to get fixed in-house, it's going to be by your maturity and your understanding that things don't always happen according to plan.
So if I was running the Eagles, I would not trade A.J. Brown.
Of course not.
Well, listen.
But unless you got something.
See, because
even if you have Max Crosby or Myles Garrett.
You need to unlock Jalen Hurts. And I don't think you unlock Jalen Hurts by trading somewhere between the 4th and 7th best receiver in football. Like, since 2022, A.J. Brown, in terms of his percentage of his team's passing offense, he's not second on the Eagles. That is second in the NFL.
Facts.
In terms of how much of your passing off, like, second highest percentage of targets, highest percentage of yards, highest percentage of receiving touchdowns. Now, part of that is because they don't have a prolific passing offense, so the numbers are shrunken down. I understand that. But, like, you get worse with him. I think that sometimes because we, in the media, we can react to a clip of him on a Twitch stream or a social media post, and we got to do these shows on Wednesdays when there's not as much content.
Right.
Like, I am not sure that it is as much of an issue and distraction in Philadelphia as it is outside of their locker room.
Oh, it's by far a distraction.
I'm not saying it's not a distraction at all, but, like, how much does it matter? If he produces, how much does it really matter?
Well, it's a distraction because he's not producing, and
he's awesome though, man.
He's the face. He's the face of your offense, along with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to be there next season, causing more issues and catching more touchdowns. All right, Willie, let's end with a little social media drama.
A.J. Brown, come on!
It's shocking, I know. Internet sleuths have said that A.J. Brown over the weekend followed Jaxson Dart and Malik Nabers on Instagram. We were talking earlier, the Giants need to upgrade offensive weapons around Jaxson Dart. This something or nothing?
Nothing. The SEC connection, Dart went to Ole Miss, A.J. went to Ole Miss. Can't it just alumni loving on alumni?
Alumni loving on alumni is quite a coincidence. Listen, I'm not.
It would be something if, like, he started following the Niners.
If he's following the Niners, what's the difference?
My point is, like, why would I care if it's because, I mean, they know each other. Like, this is not.
Yeah, okay, but you think it's just like out of nowhere? He's known them before this weekend.
Yeah, I think I hate Instagram watching.
My antenna is up. We're back tomorrow on First Things First.
This President's Day, upgrade the look of your home without breaking your budget. Save up to 50% site-wide on new window treatments at Blinds.com. Blinds.com makes it easy with free virtual consultations on your schedule and samples delivered to your door fast and free. With over 25 million windows covered and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can count on Blinds.com to deliver results you'll love.
Shop up to 50% off site-wide plus a free professional measure during the President's Day mega sale happening right now at Blinds.com. Terms apply.